a leader in my community, allow myself, along with other minorities, to wear culturally significant items during their graduation ceremony. This not only commemorates their hard work, but allows them to be representatives of their culture to their culture. In closing, I would like to leave you with this quote: "Be the change you wish to see. If you want this change so badly, you will please kindly consider this policy change."
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Go ahead.
For the record, my name is Ashley Garcia Valladares. Good evening. My name is Ashley Garcia Valladares, and I am currently a senior in Rancho High School, and I am the president of Speech and Debate. We're at a time where I'm about to graduate, and I've accomplished many things throughout the school year, and I'm proud of how far I've progressed. I want to not only show what I've accomplished through my hard-earned cords, medals, and high school diploma, but I also want to celebrate my identity. The motion I want to bring into discussion today concerns graduating students and the dress code. Quote unquote, no jewels or decorations on caps or gowns, no leis, stoles, cords, or medals other than those issued by your respective CCSD high school. I find this rule to violate upon my rights as a student and a citizen in the United States. Known as declared in a Supreme Court case known as Tinker v. Des Moines, students were able to express their form of symbolic speech as long as it does not cause an undue disruption. Being able to wear a Mexican-Guatemalan flag along with my hard-earned medals, cords, and high school diploma is how I express my symbolic speech. I want to have the ability to celebrate the fact that as a young Hispanic and first-generation woman, that I was able to graduate during a pandemic. That's a huge accomplishment. Not everyone in this room can say that they endured a year in high school online. Now, and they also endured utter chaos around that whole year. That's, again, a huge accomplishment, and I want to display that. We can easily include diversity and allow students to represent their individuality and not at the expense of maintaining decorum. I propose that the cultural, heritage, and identity-based graduation items be approved upon to give students like me and those who signed our petition the opportunity to celebrate our identities, to honor our families and our communities. I want to show that any student is capable of achieving their diplomas, regardless of ethnicity, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or income status. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia Valdez. Welcome.
Hi, for the record, my name is Jacob Drum. Okay. So when do I begin? Okay. My name is Jacob Drum, and I am a senior at Green Valley High School. One thing sorry. My name is Jacob Drum, and I'm a senior at Green Valley High School. One thing I believe in is rationality, and another thing I believe in is education. And I believe that we should create incentive structures so that a rational student would want to perceive a good education. Now, of course, not all students are rational, and really no student is. But at the very least, our incentive structures should incentivize students to go to class, and a rational student should want to go to class from the incentive structure. However, this is in contradiction with the Green Valley Tardy policy and with a lot of Tardy policies that exist right now. If you go to school and I'm 5 minutes late, what am I going to do? Am I going to go to class or am I going to sit in my car? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to sit in my car and get that absence excused, and I'll tell you why. Because on the first absence and the second, on the first and second tardy, you get a detention and a parent notification. Now, if you are a rational student and you are 5 minutes late to class because perhaps something happened on the way to school, perhaps, something happened at home, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to class or are you going to sit in your car? You're going to sit in your car. And throughout the many conversations I've had with fellow students, they all agree on this. I've gotten text messages from my friends many times saying, hey, I'm not in class, or I would ask them, why aren't you in class? And they would say, well, do I want a detention or would I rather just get my absence excused for literally no penalty? For this reason, I believe it is imperative that we change the tardy policy structures, that we incentivize students to go to class. I'd also like to note it might be tempting to say, why don't we punish them harder for being absent? I don't think punishment is the right solution here. I think we should make students want to go to class. And overall, I just believe that we should create a structure in which a rational human being would want to pursue an education rather than not go to class as it is right now. So that's it, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Drum. Please. Thank you for completing your yellow form, Mr. Drum. Jacob, if you could please give us your yellow form if it's completed. Thank you so much. Are there any other students in the audience who would like to address public comment on non-agenda items? Nope. At this time, I'd like to congratulate the seniors who are in the room. Thank you for your hard work. We are very proud of you. Moving on, the first person in public comment is Jenna Robertson. After Jenna, we've got Vicky Cardell and Autumn Tampa. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Jenna Robertson. I'm a mom of 5 CCSD students, and I had planned to come here tonight to talk about how complicated the new Cosa process is, how difficult it is to navigate, especially online, and how frustrating to have no appeals process. Our family bought a new home after the Cosa deadline, and while no kid likes change or wants to leave their friends, one of my children was in significant distress over changing schools. She had gotten some incorrect information from a teacher about simply applying for a zone variance, and when I told her the process was different this year, and her school didn't have openings, and there was nothing I could do, she was convinced I just wasn't advocating for her enough. She was angry, and then she was distraught, and based on the information on the CCSD website,
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, please do not engage with the audience. Excuse Ms. Robertson, we will pause your time. Thank you. At this time, I'd like Ms. Robertson to Jenna. Hi, Jenna. Thank you so much for your patience. You're welcome to continue.
Okay. My daughter was angry, and then she was distraught about changing schools, and based on the information on the CCSD website, I felt hopeless. After my first no, I wrote my trustee to express my frustration and ask if there truly was nothing to be done. I received an email from the COSA assistant, again telling me no, sorry. So just when I was planning to come here and say student mental health has to be more than a buzzword at a press conference for this district, I learned that my trustee took a student's request and her mental health seriously. She got my email to the superintendent and to Joe Caruso, who got my plea to the right department. Then I got a third correspondence from the COSA department where we learned we did in fact qualify for an administrative something, and my daughter would get to stay at her current school. You have never seen a more relieved kid or a more relieved mom. Trustee Guzman, thank you sincerely for hearing my kid. Thank you for taking her mental health seriously. It was really an issue in our home. It is no longer an issue in our home. Thank you. Superintendent Jara, thank you for your staff that communicated so clearly with me during this whole process. Online, not clear at all. Once I got somebody on the phone, fantastic. Thank you. I especially want to thank Joe Caruso, and I want to thank Gia Moore with the COSA department, who spent time on the phone with me yesterday thinking that I was still upset. I was not. I'm almost done, please. I was interrupted, please. I want to thank you. I want to thank you all on behalf of my daughter, who knows that her mom tried her best, and who knows that I reached out to you on this board, and she knows that you tried your best for her too. It worked out for us. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. Ms. Robertson. Ms. Cardell? Thank you for finding your way out of our boardroom. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Ms. Cardell.
Good evening. My name is Vicky Cardell. I'm a CCSD teacher and president of NEA of Southern Nevada. School board meetings are business meetings. We're here because we want our district to work. We want the kids to feel safe and successful. I also encourage educators to tell you they're bored when something isn't right. But here and all over the U.S., school boards are under attack. The attacks are done by groups of parent advocates with similar sounding names. The focus changes from masks to CRT, then it pivots to sex education, etc. Although these people say they're trying to protect their kids from indoctrination, their agenda is really to cause division and damage public school districts. These people have taken what were quiet business meetings, most of the time, and changed them into occasional screaming matches. Educators are being called names, accused of all sorts of things from suffocating kids with masks to being groomers. We're being slandered here and libeled on social media. But make no mistake, in all these meetings, the goal is to disrupt school business and to silence educators. These actions are strategic, well-funded, and coordinated. Just listen to board meetings from Tennessee to California, and you'll hear the same themes over and over. They're meant to... I learned a lot about what's going on from NEA. And President Becky Pringle says, at a time when our students need us most And when parents and educators have been working together in partnership to do everything we can to support our students, it is unconscionable that this orchestrated disinformation campaign has resulted in educators and school board members being targeted, threatened, and harassed. You see, all of this is distracting us from truly helping our students. They need our undivided attention as we recover from this pandemic. We need to prioritize school safety and teacher retention urgently. We must stand up against these attacks on our public schools and see it for what it is, a distraction for what's really important.
Thank you, Ms. Cardell. Ms. Tampa, Autumn Tampa, welcome.
I'm still being careful. Okay, wait for Lisa to get ready. Autumn Tampa speaking as an individual. First, I would like to congratulate and applaud the students who were here and spoke tonight and all the graduating class of 2022. I have really been torn about all that I have been seeing over the past several years in this country and the impact that dissenting opinions and social discontent are having on the education of our children. I believe that a school should teach academics with wraparound services for students in need. Teachers and education support professionals should not have to be parents or psychiatrists or social workers, yet oftentimes we have had to be because children's needs are not being met. These are societal issues that our state government needs to provide for. All year, most CCSD employees have had added workloads. We have had COVID safety protocols to implement and follow. We have had to be nurses, doctors, and counselors. We have had challenges with student behavior and student loss. Over the past year, I have had some of the same realizations that I've had time and time again. One of the most damaging and critical issues being that there still is the Downton Abbey effect in CCSD. That is a perspective by administrators, not all, but some, that education support professionals and often teachers are servants, not employees with feelings and hopes and dreams and lives of their own. We are supposed to do as we are told without question and to go along with any and everything we are told, even if these requests are unreasonable. We are not respected. We are ignored and constantly being asked to do more and still more without fair compensation. This is probably one of the most important reasons why CCSD employees are leaving in droves, and that there are over 2,000 employee vacancies at CCSD right now. There is much that needs to be done. Actions speak louder than words. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tampa. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to ask you to please refrain from clapping in the audience. I really appreciate this so we can get through more individuals. Mr. Jose Rivera is next, along with Kathia Sotelo. And I just want to point out that we'll be at 5:26 by the time that they're done. And I'd like to ask my colleagues whether they would like an extra 10 minutes of public comment. Okay? Perfect. Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Jose Rivera. I am a former student of the CCSD School District, a current environmental justice organizer for Make the Road Nevada. I am speaking today to urge the trustees to provide water bottle refilling stations for all schools in the district. We obviously live in a desert where our children are exposed to extreme heat temperatures during the summer, causing dehydration and irritation, which can then lead to health concerns. Water bottle filling stations can encourage children to hydrate. Not only this, but these stations can filter out acidic chlorine, taste, odor, and lead from the water our children drink at school. I am aware that schools are already equipped with drinking fountains, but this is unsanitary, especially in a pandemic. It would be more sanitary to provide these water bottle filling stations, as the fountain's bubbler head would not be touched by a child's mouth, and instead water would pour straight into a student's reusable water bottle. Water bottle filling stations in schools will not only ensure a positive outcome in a student's health, but also lead us to more eco-friendly solutions within our district. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jose. Mr. Rivera. Kathia? Is Kathia here? How about Andy Romero? Audrey Peral? Okay. Jacob Parker? Abraham Lugo? Welcome, Abraham. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm Abraham Lugo, last name Lugo for the record. Good evening. Thank you for being here today and for your active listening to our comments. I'm here as a former student of CCSD, a now UNLV alumni, and the economic justice organizer for Make the Road Nevada. In my time with Make the Road, my responsibility has been to meet the community where they're at and listen. I've interacted with countless of working parents struggling in their financial stability at a time where we're barely coming out of a pandemic. Strikingly high inflation affects the cost of everyday living and wages that are unreflective for the needs of survival of a working individual, let alone any children they may need to provide for. Statistically, communities of color are disproportionately affected at the forefront of such struggles, their children being no exception to such a reality. As a personal testament to someone who has faced heavy tolls as a result of being a witness to my family's financial stresses, I cannot emphasize enough the pivotal nature of ensuring that mental health professionals are placed within our schools. Where CCSD may not be able to fix every child's home life, they can ensure that teachers are not the ones picking up the pieces in every one of their dozens of student lives, but that trained professionals are readily available to guide, support, and possibly change the course of a student's life for the better at such troubling times. As we're all well aware, our state is one of the last in the nation for education, so changes must be made. Fiscal changes that prioritize our students, their experience at school, and creating a safe space to alleviate their experience at home as well. Let us work together rather than on separate playing fields to create an equitable funding formula that sets the foundation for this crucial change. I offer myself, the voice of every student, and every youth leader that has come out today to help you on this task. Our youth deserve to thrive, not just survive, because we all do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lugo. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for refraining from clapping. Kendra Evans, Diana Baptista, welcome.
Hello, my name is Kendra Evans. I'm going to read you an assignment given to my...
Ms. Kendra, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Ms. Kendra.
She's going to
Your
read it for me.
Yes, that's fine. Nope, forgive me, that's not fine.
Sorry.
So, yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to read you an assignment given to my 15-year-old daughter at a local high school. This will be horrifying for me to read to you, but that will give you perspective on how she must have felt when her teacher required her to memorize this and to act it out in front of her entire class. I don't love you. It's not you. It's just, I don't like your dick, or any dick in that case. I cheated, Joe.
I'm sorry.
This is propaganda.
Forgive me. Excuse me. I don't, thank you so much for your, comment. Forgive me. We're not using profanity. Are you?
Okay.
We have the time back. That's relevant.
Okay.
Yes. The teacher
This
required my daughter to memorize this and read this pornographic material.
excuse me. Please don't engage with the audience.
Okay. Sorry, this is my
please
first time
continue your
here.
public comment. Your time is, you've got 1 minute and 19 seconds. I ask you simply, this is a public meeting. I ask for decorum, and I'm asking Dr. Jara. Thank you so much. Dr. Jara?
If you don't want me to read it to you, what was that like for my 15-year-old daughter to have to memorize pornographic material and memorize it and portray?
Madam President, members of the board, staff's on this. We can have the region superintendent speak to her.
Thank you so
We
much,
are on
Dr.
it.
Jara. It seems like you may have some concerns, and while we're not allowed to engage back and forth in a dialogue, we would absolutely like to make sure that your concerns are addressed.
This material, just finish what I was going to say.
Please.
My daughter was forced to engage in the portrayal of this blank activity by her teacher. We have pornography laws regarding minors in this state, and many of those were violated because of this assignment. I don't have time to name all of the laws that were broken that day, but one example, NRS 200-710. It states, it is a crime when a person knowingly uses, encourages, entices, or permits a minor to be the subject of a sexual portrayal in a performance. In one of my meetings with school administration, they blame my daughter for not saying no to the assignment. They blamed my daughter, who is the victim. Teachers are in a position of power. Educators must understand the laws about sexual abuse, and that is where I am hoping you will help. If I had not reached out to a local parent advocacy group, Power to Parent, for help, I may never have gotten a meeting with the regional superintendent and truly feel this incident would have been brushed under the rug. However, this meeting went really well, and I now have some hope that corrective action will happen. My daughter thinks the world of the teacher and has raved about her, so it's not that I want her to get fired. That would devastate my daughter. I don't want to make a horrible situation worse. But she is struggling with this. I hope that you will reach out to me to let me know how you can help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans, for taking time to come to the board meeting. Ms. Batista? And then after Ms. Batista, we have Jennifer Killickany.
Thank you.
Welcome.
She loves my skirt. I love it too. It's not mine, but I borrowed it. So, Diana Batista for the record. So I do want to talk about a lot of just the mental health issues that we kind of talked about when the shutdown happens. A lot of our kids, when they were isolated at home, they really saw an impact. And so I think we're all kind of acknowledging that. My concern is once many of our kids went back to school, and it was prior to the pandemic, many of our kids were still sitting alone. So whether that was in the lunchroom or secluded in a classroom or whatever it might be, my kids unfortunately have been the kids that are sitting alone at lunch. Thankfully, my son, when he went back to school, my youngest little guy, when he went back to school in March, he had kind of noticed, and it surprises me sometimes, I think, that our staff don't always notice. But he had walked into the lunchroom and he had seen another student that was sitting at the allergy table, and he understood the child had allergy issues. He does too, so he understands it and he respects that. But he had asked, Mom, can you make me a gluten-free something without peanut butter so that I can sit with this child? This child is sitting alone on a daily basis. And so he went and he did that. He's been doing that since he came back to school, and I'm so proud of him. But I kind of wonder how many of us as trustees, staff, the school board, how many of us have gone into the schools post-pandemic and gone into the lunchrooms and seen how many kids are sitting alone on a daily basis. And the reason why I bring it to your attention is I understand that you can't take action on an agenda, but you can under operations. And so, Mr. Jara, I'm going to hold you accountable. But I would love if we can get some sort of volunteer program moving forward for many of our kids so that when they are in the lunchroom or they are anywhere, if they're sitting alone and we have children that are willing to sit with them, whether they have food allergies, they have autism, anything that kind of impacts the socialization, that we really take that into consideration and just do something moving forward that's really positive for our kids. So we know that there's been an impact with behavior, and I think that would really help and support it. So I just wanted to recommend that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Batista. Appreciate your comment. Jennifer Killickany? Jennifer present, not present. Mr. Gonzalez, Ed Gonzalez? And after Ed, we have room for maybe two more individuals. Ms. Comro and Chuck Summers. Yes, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Jara. Normally I come in here and you hear who I represent today. I would wear too many hats, so I'm just going to speak as an individual. First of all, I do appreciate, I've seen almost half of the trustees this week. I've been working with some forums to actually hear where the visions are, so I do appreciate everybody coming. And then Superintendent Jara, I do appreciate the updates that you've given us about the health clinic over at Bailey Middle School. I know you spoke to our chair after Nevada Talks event, and so we have not come back to you with some information, but we will be in contact, so we do appreciate you following up onto that. But the reason I'm actually here today was more about some of the comments that was made by district staff at a workshop at the Department of Education on AB 469. I think the thing that I find troubling is I know this board has talked about trying to work with the state board. We've heard that from many members. But the language that was used from the district was saying, and I'm going to use the word defamatory, about saying that this district isn't following the law. To me, that doesn't look like trying to work together with people. It is, I'm going to say it's rather shocking. It's been 6 years. Next month, the law was passed, or 7 years, 6 months in October when the regulations were passed. But the idea that the reason the state board is taking such strong action is because movement hasn't been happening this long. And it started with the previous superintendent. It started with the previous board. This item was passed before any of you guys sat on this committee. Maybe Lola Brooks was the exception when they were going through that process. But for the most part, when they talk about doing harsh languages, they want movement from the district. And when I heard things going, well, we're not really enforcing the law or they're being misrepresented, the law hasn't been implemented. And so people are trying to figure out how to get that to happen. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I'm not going to sit here and throw a hat. I'm trying to have civil conversations. I think for the last week, we have proven we can have community events, talk about education where people are not shouting, yelling at each other, because that's what we need. We need to have common sense conversations and something where people can talk about it so we can actually get stuff done. So thank you, Madam Vice President. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Ms. Conroe? And after Ms. Conroe, we have Mr. Chuck Summers.
Sarah Comra for the record. These students are our future, yet when they speak, it often falls on deaf ears. And why? Because they're young? Because they don't have 30 years of experience? Because it has always been done one way? Well, guess what? Youth bring fresh ideas. The experiences and accomplishments of this generation are amazing. And maybe the way it has always been done is the wrong way. I did not plan to come and speak here on this tonight, but my student Marisol, who spoke earlier, asked for my support, and I am here to give it wholeheartedly. She comes here with a request, but also with a growth mindset and a look towards solutions for any possible concern that may cause you to deny the class of 2022 and all classes going forward the ability to wear cultural, heritage, and identity-based graduation items. We spent 12 years telling them to be their own person, to look into themselves and be the best them that they can be. And then at the end, we tell them to shove everything we've been hitting them over the head with down, fall in line, and fall in line. I'm proud to call Marisol my student, and I truly hope that you, very quickly, because graduation is approaching, find a way to let Marisol show what she is proud of as she walks across that stage on June 1st. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Conroe. Thank you, audience, for refraining from clapping. Mr. Chuck? Welcome.
Good evening, Board, and I appreciate this time to speak my piece. I worked for the district for 35 years. My wife has been teaching for 50 years in Southern Nevada. My family has been supportive of the district in every way. The one thing that I find troubling these days is a matter of trust and respect. As an employee, I waited until my 34th year to list any concerns with the superintendent. And the response I got was a very short, hang in there. Before I retired, I left a letter to the superintendent concerned with my concerns for how maintenance was being run and how the employees were being, for lack of a better word, abused as people and disrespected and not trusted for what they do. I got no response. I wrote a letter to this board with the same concerns. Again, I got no response. Now, while the district has been good to me for 35 years, I was overwhelmed by the fact that people just don't trust or respect, and I've seen it happen with this board. And we wonder why our children are having a rough time in school. We wonder why our employees are leaving the district in busloads. It's because every level of our establishment is not doing or living up to the trust and to the respect that we have asked of them. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to move on. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have some public comment on consent. Start from the top. First with the individuals who registered in advance. We have Jamie Budinsky. Jamie, I see you on. Perfect. After Jamie, I have Ms. Bautista. And after Ms. Bautista, I have Adam Tampa. Welcome.
Okay, Jamie Tedrinsky for the record. I wrote about half of my comments in advance, so we all might be surprised tonight. So last meeting was a little bit of a doozy, which is why I signed up for 3.01 minutes from the last agenda, because I want to comment specifically on the meeting from 2 weeks ago. We made national news again, and again, it was for the wrong reasons. But when you have inept parents who don't have kids in the district screaming insanity at our board meetings, it's bound to make its way onto Reddit and other social media platforms. So let's get into education tonight, because I'm going to share some definitions with the crowd. Libel, it's a published false statement that is damaging to a person's reputation. Slander, it's an action or crime of making a false spoken statement damaging to a person's reputation. And defamation, the action of damaging the good reputation of someone.
Forgive me, Jamie, are
Yeah.
you speaking about the minutes from the last board meeting? 'Cause
Yes,
that's
and then
not,
I'm moving into.
thank you, I'm sorry.
everything else. Yeah.
That's the minutes of that are on the consent agenda are
Yeah.
actually for February 28th and March 2nd, so.
Okay,
please
so I'll keep
just-
that in mind. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so all of that then was committed at our meeting 2 weeks ago. All of it's been recorded, all of it's been sent to a legal team, because a group who calls themselves Mama Bears needs to be stopped. I really enjoyed the comments though. They called me the CCSD poster child and the CCSD mascot. So I brought a costume tonight. I also looked up how much a mascot makes. It's a little bit more than what I make as a 10-year teacher, with 2 master's degree, a 3rd one in the works. I'm in the process of becoming a nationally board certified teacher. I know there's a bingo card out there tonight talking about how much I'm going to talk about myself, so they can check that off right now.
Ms.
Headbands from
Trudinsky, I don't
Amazon,
mean to
pretty
interrupt
good.
your public comment. Well, I
yeah.
love your flag. I'd like for you to please continue with
Yep,
your
I
public
am.
comment. Thank you.
So I just want to kind of put that on. We definitely are underpaid as educators in Nevada, so we should fix that. The next one I want to talk about, 303, the MOU with the United Citizens Foundation. This is an excellent thing. If you haven't read it in the minutes, I suggest people go and read it. Several people have been speaking for months about the needs in our school for mental health care. The only real questions I have, and I know you can't respond directly right now, I just kind of want to put it out there for future consideration. I hope someone can look into why it's only 15 schools, which is what the agreement is for. There's over 300 campuses in CCSD. I know it's not possible to roll this out to 300 schools at once, but I wonder what the criterion is to be chosen. Like, how are those 15 schools going to be chosen? It's a 2-year program, so is it designed to be renewed? And will 15 new schools be chosen next May, since the first 15 will be chosen this May? So if we could get answers to those questions in a subsequent board meeting, I think the community kind of deserves that. Mental health clearly is an issue, and I've been called mentally ill. Yeah, I am. I'm standing here on a flag when I could be home with my cats having a microwave dinner, okay? Because that's also what they say. Warrants, 3.05. So you might be wondering why I brought up warrants. On page 4, my name is listed with a $675 tuition reimbursement. So thank you for that. Genuinely, I mean, thank you for that. It was from the RPDP Library and Media program. So thanks to RPDP, I've been a certified school librarian since January. It's really exciting. I encourage teachers, if that program is offered again, to do it. It takes about a year at 7 classes. You really learn a lot. One of the lessons we had was about how to bind books for distribution in our library, and another on how to access the resources across the district. The district uses a program called Destiny Discover through Follett, and you can actually access every library in CCSD if you know how to use it. And any school librarian, and all schools should have a librarian because of policies, should know how to do that. So that means we can look up what books are and aren't in CCSD. And because I came with props tonight, I brought a book from our library. And since this is a huge issue, I asked my librarian for the gayest book we possessed. And she gave it to me, LGBTQ Rights and Activism, because it's something that our kids need to know. But you'll notice a couple of things. There's a process for how we put the call number on books. Every CCSD library book has to have this call number. Every CCSD library book has to have the barcode. Like, there's literally a very specific process to do this, or it can't be in the library. And again, any librarian can tell you that. So when we have people who come to the board meeting with photocopies of books that they claim are in the library, if it's really in the library, they can go check it out. Their kid can check it out. If it's really in the library, literally anyone who has a CCSD email can look up any book that is in the system and is not in the system. And I think we need to be really cautious of the fact that you have bad actors coming and accusing our librarians of having books that don't exist.
What is that reference to when it comes to the
warrants.
consent?
Okay. And then 3.6 and 3.7, I'm going to kind of combine those. It's the licensed personnel, unified personnel. We know that we're hemorrhaging staff. I know this, you know this, the nation knows this. $4,000 truly isn't enough to move here when they see the abuse played out on their screens. I know tons of great teachers who are leaving the profession entirely. When I came here in 2015, they offered us $5,000. And even then people are like, that's not really enough, right? It was enough for me to get out here, but it wasn't enough for a lot of people. But now it's offering $4,000. Now the criterion has changed. Like, they have to be dedicated, be here at least 2 years. I don't think it's going to work. I know plenty of great teachers who are leaving. I know teachers who were going to be here tonight who found themselves last minute not being able to be here. But I think it's really time that we take a serious look at what it's going to take to keep teachers here, because it's not bringing new teachers in for $4,000 when nationwide teacher programs are ending because there's not enough students to go into those programs. It's not enough when we constantly see our pay frozen, or when the CU system is so difficult to navigate that people give up and can't access their raises when they're putting in the educational work to get those raises. I think we really need to look at that. I think we need to look at who is coming and speaking against teachers at these meetings, who think because they have kids that they're an educational expert. All right, I think we need to look at what is being put out online, what is being allowed to be said into this boardroom and in the lobby of this building and in the bathrooms of this building, because your teachers are under attack and we're leaving, like it's not worth it to have my children's advocate tell me to kill myself in the bathroom. So last thing, I know we're almost out of time. One of my friends, she was sick, she couldn't make it. She emailed you. So it's in the board documents already. I think we need to be really aware that when a person gets thrown out of this boardroom because they're screaming about genitalia, that we don't have a trustee taking pictures with them the next day. Because
Mr. Dinsky,
if these are
what is
mama
this
bears,
in reference to?
they need to
Mr.
be
Dinsky,
tranquilized.
thank you for your
That's it, I'm
time.
done.
At this time, I'd like to invite Ms. Batista back to the podium to speak on, we have 5 items, Ms. Batista? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3, 4. It's okay, what's the
job, and so any chance I get to be super silly, I appreciate it.
Forgive me, Ms. Batista, I need to correct something. I mentioned
bet.
Autumn would be next, but it's actually Jessica Allen and then Ms. Tampa. Thank you.
It's
welcome.
interesting because I saw the paper and the paper had me next, but I will allow it.
Yes, you are next. You are next. I meant after you. It is
Okay.
Jessica and then Ms. Tampa.
Then I apologize.
You're okay. Thank you for keeping us accountable.
I will own it. When I am wrong, and I will own it.
Nope. Allow us one moment while we restart your time.
Sure. No
Thank
worries.
you.
All right, thank
Welcome.
Diana Batista, Special Education Advocate, for the record. 3.04, I have a concern. So the approval process, phase 3, I would appreciate if any trustee could maybe clarify whether or not there was a mention of cameras and surveillance, but they didn't specify where. And so I know that we have cameras just about anywhere. I know that there are some updates. Sometimes we have cameras that don't work really conveniently, typically when our kids are getting abused, unfortunately. But it does come up. And so in the event that we are looking at cameras in classrooms, I want to ensure that we are looking at ensuring that it's everywhere. So I absolutely support our staff members being safe 100%. I think that's really important. We want to keep our staff here. We want to ensure that they're safe. In addition to that, too, though, I want to ensure that our children are also kept in the back of our minds, that when we're looking at these things, we're looking at not just staff safety, but student safety also. There wasn't clarification on that, so I wasn't sure if anybody could maybe ask that. The other thing, 3.05. As I was going through the warrants and bills payable, I see on page 4, CCSD finally paid Jamie Tadrinsky for a copy of the gay agenda. While I think the reimbursement was quite low, considering all the things we could learn from the gay agenda, such as love always wins and suicide prevention, I do hope to see the reimbursement increases and we see the gay agenda in all CCSD libraries very soon. Also, 3.17, I noticed on page 1, we have an issue with the establishment clause. So I don't know if you guys have looked into that, but there was $9,200 that went to the Association of Christian Schools. Shocker, I found it. I know you hate my guts, but I did. This is going to software for our schools. So when reading the association's mission statement, it exists to strengthen Christian schools and Christian educators worldwide. You might want to review that. So again, establishment clause, that was concerning for me. I think that needs to be reviewed as to why it is that we're spending $9,200 of federal dollars that is going to a Christian organization. So we're federal dollars. We have public schools. Typically, that's for private. I don't know why that's going there, but it is. So 3.18, purchase award in the amount of $640,000 for Rethink Ed to address many supports for students with autism. Would cost you $0 if we just got the RBTs and BCBAs that I have talked about over and over and over again. We can go and we can approve software and programs and things over and over. And I do think it's important for our teachers and our staff. But the problem is, while we're going and we're approving all of these programs, we're not addressing the other barriers in the classroom that are going on. So when our children have behavior issues and we've, reduced the links department, who, by the way, are not licensed RBTs like some of our privates are, we're doing all of these things. We're approving program, and we're not looking at why it is our children are not learning. And a lot of this is barriers, such as behavior that's going on in the classroom, or just many different things. We need to address what these barriers are. And so if we can get RBTs that are going to cost us $0 and not be hitting our budget so much, I would love if we could do that. I think that's definitely the board's mission. From what I've looked at over the last few months, really important. Again, we just want to ensure that we are getting the behavior under control. Also, 3.28. So lots of agenda items for professional services and architectural design agreements to review, inspect, and modify all these school sites. But I've come and spoken before the board again, over and over again, about the variety hotbox and the illegal seclusion enclosures that are going on. I know they spoke to you about it several months ago. I do notice that of all the school sites that are looking at being reviewed, modified, looking at the design, architecture, all of the above, variety is not in there. So as an action item, I would like to add see variety added in there. So what is going on at Variety and these illegal seclusion enclosures are absolutely illegal. It's a major federal violation. I don't know why we have not looked at it, why we're not taking that more seriously, but it is an issue. It has literally made the news all the way to Washington, D.C. So we've been 3 years behind kind of what's going on. And again, I know that I've talked about it, but that has still not been addressed. Also, 3.47. So we have $390,000 that looks like is in a settlement agreement for due process. I fully support it. I think a lot of our children, unfortunately, are not receiving a free and appropriate public education. It affects not only our students, it affects every other student in the classroom, it affects our teachers, it affects the entire classroom environment, the school environment, all of the above. So if we aren't going to provide FAPE, I fully support the $390,000, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Batista. Jessica Allen, you have 2 items. Jessica Allen is not present. Okay. We're going to move on to Ms. Autumn Tampa, who has 1 item. You have 2 items. Thank you, Ms. Tampa. And then we're going to move on to yellow cards. After Ms. Tampa, we have Sarah Comroe and Nicolas. Oh, forgive me, it's just Sarah Comroe for now. Thank you, Ms. Tampa. Welcome.
Thank you. Autumn Tampa speaking as an individual. I'm glad that we've got a few new employees coming on as opposed to a whole bunch leaving. It's kind of nice to see. I've been here a long time. I've experienced working with and near and around a lot of different principals and administrators because I was working as a substitute teacher first in over 150 schools. And then after that, I was an ELL tester, and I worked in 160 schools during that job. And that's because we went to different schools for the testing yearly. And so I've had a lot of experience. I recently have a new principal at a school that I'm now being surplused out of, who is really very unique. And when I first met him, we kind of butted heads. But as we got to know each other, his whole attitude and disposition and the way that he communicates with children and adults is very, very refreshing. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say is that I have noticed that I would say at least 80% of the administrators that I have communicated with and dealt with most of my career, I've pushed my way through, but most of my career have almost like a script that they follow in their responses to you as an employee. And I'm sure that they have a script they follow in responses to children. And I think other people have touched on that. And that whole perspective needs to change, not just the culture for employees, but the culture for employees is the same one that administrators have for children. And there needs to be an openness, an acceptance that everybody has talked about here in so many different ways. And the rigidity, the regimentation, it needs to be let go. You know, if COVID taught us anything, it was that life is short and precious. And being in a school and being live with people and learning is a gift. And we're missing it. We're going back to all the old ways. And, you know, we're connecting it now to teachers. You've got teachers leaving instead of teachers being hired. I don't know at what vast numbers in May it's going to happen, but there's 1,500 teachers positions open and about 600 support staff. I don't know how many administrators because that doesn't show up on my my job thing, but that's a serious problem. That's a serious problem. And I think it can be fixed with all of the different things that we here have been saying, but we keep banging our heads against the wall. And maybe some of you listen, but there's not a concerted effort. There's not a joint, massive effort to hear what people are saying to you. And I think the parents, some of them, they have their emotions. Yeah, there's some groups, but a lot of parents have concerns. We're all partners. We're all together in this. No one is way up here as far as their humanness. We are all human beings. We all have hearts and souls. We all have gifts, talents, abilities. We're all unique individuals. And we should all be respected for that. And that is not happening. It's not happening to teachers. It's not happening with principals. It's not happening with support staff. And it's not happening with students. And I'm seriously concerned. I almost walked out Monday. I almost quit my job. And I had to take a deep breath because I can't afford it. And that's happening not just because of COVID, but it's happened to me throughout my career because of the lack of kindness, the lack of empathy, the lack of acceptance that I feel as a human being and that I see others feeling. I see children feeling. And I don't know how else to say it. I feel like I've said it a million times over, but I want to see action. I want to see something being done, not just a little bit social emotional training. No, more. You need more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tampa, for reminding us of our joint humanity. At this time, forgive me, we have Ms. Comroe. Thank you. And we have 4 items. Ms. Comroe, we have 3.06, 3.07, 3.34, and 3.47. Welcome.
Thank you. Sarah Comroe for the record. I want to start with 3.34, upgrading the air conditioning at Rancho High School, where I work. So awesome, very exciting. And at the same time, the last time we had work done at Rancho, our carpets were replaced in November, and they broke large amounts of stuff in my class worth hundreds of dollars that I had been told to leave where it was because it was unwieldy. And then I was told for months that they would replace it, and then they didn't. So while we're approving all these people to come in and do work, I just ask that we make sure that they're not jerk faces who break stuff and then don't replace it after they promise to. Moving on to 3.47, another special education settlement, which seems to be the super fun run-of-the-mill here. If you took all the money that you spend on settlements and all the money that you spend building up a wall of lawyers that you use to infringe on the rights of your special education students and take away their services, and I don't know, spent that money on actually providing a good and a fair education for these kids, then maybe we would actually have a successful school district. Speaking of special education, I want to look at 3.18 and the amazingly silly and wonderful Miss Diana Batista was talking about the Rethink Ed purchase and how we need to look at the causation. So when we do stuff in classrooms, in special education classrooms, we do something called ABC. You look at the antecedent, then you look at the behavior, and then you look at the consequence. And it helps you to see why it happened, what we can change, or how we can support to better it. But we're not doing that as a district. Instead, like she said, we are just purchasing this, purchasing that, slap a Band-Aid on. But if we pause and we really looked at what the problem is, what the antecedent is, what the thing that is happening is, the behavior, and then the consequence, which is we're having these struggles, then we would be able to actually find solutions that are working as opposed to just putting a little Band-Aid on a giant open gaping wound. And taking that and kind of swinging it up into 3.06 and 3.07 in conjunction with 3.18, Teacher Health Trust actually just dropped services for autistic kids from their teachers being able to get services for our kids. And so instead of costing $10 per service, it now costs $150. And these are services that kids often need daily, 5 days a week. I know when my son was getting it, he was going to school full day and then going home and doing 3 hours a night. I can't afford $150 a day, 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month. Because I'm a teacher in Clark County School District, I can't even afford to give $5 worth of change to my students when they ask. And so I think you really need to think about that because these kids, it's not just that these kids are human beings, which I know some of you up on the dais may not look at special education kids that way, is what it seems by your statements on social media, but they're human beings. But so are their parents, right? And we're all trying to work hard for this district. And we can't do that if our kids are not being supported. And by the way, they're your kids too, because they are Clark County School District students who are now regressing in speech, regressing in behaviors, because for 1 month, they are not able to get services because you don't pay us enough to pay $150 per service. And you let our health insurance falter to the point where they no longer cover these necessary services for our children. To be clear, our children, because they're yours too. And then, now on to the actual speech I wrote for 3.06 and 3.07 to discuss some of the reasons why Clark County School District employees are fleeing into the wind. In my class, I spend a lot of time and effort creating a welcoming class culture. My students know that they can come to me for anything and about anything. They know that I will support them and work with them to make sure that they are safe, healthy, and happy as possible, and that they are able to access their education. To top it off, I painstakingly decorate my room with affirmations, positivity, and things that signify it as a safe and supportive space for all students. Oh no, I forgot the thing. One of my peers brought me these because they knew that I would know who would appreciate them. Sorry, I got props too. It is a rainbow sticker to put on our door that says safe space. Whoops. I thought to myself, I should bring one for you all here. And then I realized this isn't a safe space. This isn't a safe space for our students. This isn't a safe space for our staff. this isn't a safe space for families or community members. This wasn't a safe space last June for our students of color, as you all allowed racism to be amplified for hours on end. This wasn't a safe space last meeting, as you allowed a homophobic and transphobic comment to be thrown around the boardroom, including a freshman in the student section being called the F slur by an audience member that have repeatedly showed disdain for the decorum supposedly required in this room. This hasn't been a safe space for as far back as I can remember, while we all hear you repeatedly misgender and use incorrect titles for LGBTQ plus staff who come to speak. It's Mix Tadrinsky, and their pronouns are they, them. Which, by the way, you misused literally 90 seconds after they said that they were thankful that their admin used the correct honorific and pronouns last meeting. Anyways, displaying this sign here in this room would be false advertising, and there's no amount of lipstick we can put on this pig to make people think it's pretty in here. Thank you.
Our next, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to have to remind the audience that this is, while I appreciate the encouragement that takes place through applause, it is inappropriate. We have Ms. Jashante Marshall speaking on 3.02. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to speak tonight. As you know, I'm the co-founder of 1865 No Racism in Schools, and we do often receive rapid requests for response and advocacy as it pertains to expulsions. And I am not here to bash anybody tonight. What I'm here to do is to provide solutions, okay? Number one, 1865 is going to be sponsoring, along with Lavassie and National Action Network Las Vegas, Canvassing for Kids on June 11th. And I am asking for every last one of the trustees to participate in canvassing in your respective districts because we need to get out and gain commitment from the families. We will be equipping the people with resource lists as they encounter a need and they knock at those doors. And the purpose is to reduce the expulsions and the behaviors that are happening inside of the schools. If we can talk to the parents, meet the needs of the parents, and gain their commitment or guardians to the safety in schools next year, we are ahead of the curve. I also want to just, and I see it's 41 seconds, so I'll try to be quick, but I want to encourage us to take a moment to recenter our focus. Performance-driven outcomes have been absent from many conversations post-pandemic. It is imperative that we go back to the various plans and policies already implemented and that we assess what we are truly capable of as a district at this point, then create a strategy that is effective and able to drive quantifiable data that has positive outcomes in the area of student achievement. In addition to that, we have opportunities where we will continue to mitigate the conversations that are not tied to monthly performance metrics. I'll send an email. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jashanti. Appreciate your time. At this time, I don't see any more yellow cards for. It looks like we may have, yes, I see that. I see that. It's okay. No, you're good. We have a Miss Binder for 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on up. Welcome. We didn't mean to miss you, but thank you for bringing the attention. Welcome.
Thank you. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Jara, good evening. If I cry, I win bingo. So, because I was put up to the challenge this evening before I left the house, I came up with lots of thoughts on our consent agenda. I also have a couple on four items on the 4.0 items, so I'll see you back in a few minutes too. Okay, licensed personnel. Saw, I think, the Channel 8 news article today that a particular middle school principal tried to hire 3 of our J1 teachers to fill some vacancies in our school and was told that she could not do that. Really concerning since we have so many outgoing, and if we have some willing to come and help teach our students, that we probably should prioritize hiring them, but not my business. Maybe the new chief of HR, for $200,000 a year can figure that out for us. 3.08, all of my children constantly relay that the food sucks. They'll be coming over the summer when they're not busy with school to vent their entire feelings about that. But I just figured with all those pretty agreements going out there that, and I see comments out in the community a lot that we should just get the choice of having the PEBT benefits and feed our own children versus you guys trying to scour all the disgusting stuff that probably gets thrown away. 3.18, I did want to hit the speech, language, OTPT, but kind of from a different angle. So I just had my youngest son's annual IEP, and I went back and matched up his logs compared to his speech logs. As you guys know, for 2 years in a row now, he has not received his speech minutes. So I wasn't shocked to find that none of the dates that the speech therapist logged in her attorney's notes billing that coordinated with any document in my son's journal of when he actually went to speech therapy. So when I called that out, I wish I would have taken a picture of the speech lady's face. I did give her a lot of grace that we all make mistakes, and thankfully my son has made improvement, but I really just don't know where to go because they were going to try to push him into almost full gen ed first grade next year, despite all of the assessments saying he could not be even in a kindergarten classroom. So thankfully, great principal. So I hope maybe 1 year, he's got like 11 years left, maybe 1 year he'll actually get his services. I also, though, wanted to point out that in the last reportable MAC audits that I received, because I'm super curious about services that are billable back to Medicaid, right? I talk about this a lot, like we should be getting reimbursed for services like language therapy that we are awarding to a third-party company. So we have $6.6 million going for speech language therapy, and we have another just shy of $8.4 million going for OT and PT for kids who aren't even getting services. But if you go back to the last quarter ending June 2021 of your MAC audit, excuse me 1 second, I want to be very, very accurate when I report this. Total SPED expenditures, September 21st, 2021, quarter ending, total expenditures were about $66.5 million. Total claimable was only about $882,000. So how are we awarding like $13 million for outside services and we're only getting what back? So I think this goes back to where we constantly talk about data, because I know you have to report data to get those reimbursed. So I'm still digging and I will keep you apprised of what I find. 3.51, our new chief HR lady, Ms. Tolks, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is from Brevard, right, Florida, sued her previous district over alleged sexual allegations from a trustee member. So thankfully we have no men on our board right now. Also has claims of retaliation, all kinds of things. And I really just thought, like, why would she come here? Like, why? Are we setting ourselves up for another lawsuit? Because it's all over the place here. And she's inclined to be a whistleblower. So I do like that about her. So I look forward to her future claims. Let's see. Actually, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Our last public commenter on consent agenda items is Mr. David Corman. David. Trustee Williams, you're in the queue. Is that when it's okay. No worries. I know. I thought, thank you. You're fine there. Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good
Trustee
evening.
Garcia Morales and other trustees, Superintendent Hara. I'm David Corman, a candidate for District F. I want to discuss the 3.51 employment agreement for the Chief Human Resources Officer. Kind of got hit by somebody else right before me here, so it was a nice sway in for me. If you remember, past Tuesday night, there was a District F candidate forum at Windmill Library. I hope that the trustees don't have the same mindset as Trustee Ford when she made her comment to the question by Tiffany
Mr.
Lane from
Corman,
Channel
forgive
3.
me, this is specifically about 3.51. I'd like for
Right.
you to keep your comments specific to that. Thank you.
All right. She made a comment that stated something about there is no problem with employees or there is no problem with employees in the district, and that we know that that's not true. We know that many employees are leaving this year. The net result is from that, all of our teachers leaving this year is that they're going to be continuing to fall behind and are basically in academically. So we all know that CCSD has to change their mindset. I know that the majority of you on this board don't think that way. You think that our employees are important and that they need to be. So that this person who's coming in, Dr. Toll, she's going to be responsible for all human resources and all the processes and procedures within. Therefore, I hope you guys took the time to possibly look at her background, because it is critical. It's a critical decision, and it's probably the biggest decision this board's going to make for you here, as well as probably what has happened in the last 16 years of CCSD. I hope you took the time to go back and research, do your due diligence as to her background, and as talking to Dr. Hara as well, because they work together in Florida. So I hope you did your due diligence, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. At this time, do we have a motion to adopt the consent agenda? I see Trustee Williams in the queue.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion by Trustee Williams, a second by Trustee Guzman. Trustees, please cast your vote. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
That motion passes. I do that again. 6-0, noting that President Cepeda is absent today. Thank you very much, trustees. We are now moving on to the warrants. Trustee Brooks, are you available to read the warrants?
I am. Ratified warrants as listed in the bills, payable, transmittal, and board memorandum number 18-21-22 in the total amount of $125,390,498.16.
Thank you, Trustee Brooks. At this time, we're going to move on to 4.01, Focus 2024 Strategic Plan Update on Chronic Absenteeism. And I see that Dr. Barton is joining us, along with Dr. Anzalone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Gentlemen, we will turn the presentation over to you, and then we'll have public comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Dr. Jara. This evening, we are providing an update according to our Focus 2024 strategic plan. Again, the board has seen this presentation in previous forms, and I'll get to the dates where you saw previous updates. But again, this aligns to student success and specifically safety and engagement, chronic absenteeism. And so this is aligned to, again, the Focus 2024 plan, which is made up of several components for accountability. And again, as a refresher, trustees, there have been multiple presentations in the last several years on chronic absenteeism. The latest being on February 10th, 2022, when we provided an update regarding semester 1 chronic absenteeism rates. With your permission, Madam Vice President, I'll turn it over to Dr. Anzalone.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Good evening, Vice President Morales, members of the board, Dr. Jara, John Anzalone, Assistant Superintendent ESD, for the record. Just a refresher as the definition that we follow for chronic absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism is a school quality measure on the Nevada School Performance Framework that captures the total percentage of students who are absent for 10% or more of their enrolled days. Our theory of action has stayed consistent. We believe that if we identify root causes for missed school situations, and use outside partners to assist with chronic absentee efforts, then we will increase connectedness on campuses. So here in front of you, you see a breakdown of our student groups. The data shows that we're continuing to see increases in our chronic absenteeism, essentially across the board, with one bright spot in our Black African American student group where there was a 1% decrease over time. And you can take a look at that. And also looking at our targets, we haven't hit our targets for this year. We're above our targets in all areas, with our brightest spot being our Asian student group with a 20% actual target. Our chronic absenteeism gap overall results and status. This is the gap between the highest and lowest student groups in chronic absenteeism in percentage points. Our target was 9.3%, and currently we're at 28% in that gap. Looking at like districts within our state and across the country, currently we are on par with other like districts, so we're not alone in this. If you look at Denver and Miami-Dade, we're just about the same as them as far as our percentages. And interestingly enough, Washoe County is a little bit higher than ours right now. So again, this shows that this is not just a statewide problem or a district problem, but a nationwide problem. So what are some of our challenges, our successes, and lessons learned? We know that we're still in the distance ed aftermath, and so the challenges are in that area, as well as absence reporting, consistency across the board. Our successes, we have strong partnerships, as you know, and they're very, very willing to support. We've been working very collaboratively with them. And also, we have targeted support during the school closure, and our attendance officers have done a phenomenal job, and we've increased our employees in that department. Lessons learned, we obviously have seen that chronic absenteeism impacts all indicators across the board, and our recovery from increased rates will require ongoing comprehensive initiatives, which we'll share with you here on this next slide. So our next steps. As you know, beginning in April and continuing through the rest of this school year into June, we've been having our student focus groups, feedback sessions we're calling student voices. It's been an outstanding opportunity for us to, as our team has met with students across the valley and all the trustee districts. We've found some emerging themes. We have found that students really like attendance incentives, and they like for many of those to come back, and I think we heard from a student today that mentioned that as well. We know that students are asking for strong Tier 1 instruction, engaging lessons that will entice them to come to school and be more motivated. And of course, connectedness. And we've talked about that before, connectedness with one or more adults on campus. Our students have mentioned that they have goals and dreams. They like to come to school. However, life has happened. Family matters, work. We've talked to students that actually help provide medical attention to their parents and grandparents, and so they stay home to provide pills and other medications for their families. They also seem to have adult priorities right now, which I'm sure we can empathize with. Students like little things like welcomes and good mornings, things that we may take for granted sometimes, and positive reinforcements throughout the day, and again, connecting to at least one or more adults on campus. We will continue our work with the Truancy Prevention Outreach Program, or TPOP. We feel like we continue to have a strong relationship and partnership with the county, specifically TPOP. We've provided additional staff using grant fundings. And again, the 5 harbors have been an outstanding talking point for us, and we've used them throughout the district and throughout the valley. My Brother's Keeper and SJP, School Justice Partnership, have also been outstanding partnerships in this area. And lastly, we plan in August, in the fall, to continue to provide differentiated attendance reporting PL for our clerks and registrars, which has already begun, and onboarding anybody new coming on so they can understand the attendance coding process in a comprehensive way. Dr. Barton?
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Dr. Jara, that concludes our presentation. Just to highlight what the data included this evening, again, this is an update through quarter 3. We will be coming back to the board with a cumulative look at the entire school year regarding chronic absenteeism, and we're happy to address any questions you may have this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Barton. Thank you, Dr. Anzalone. This time I'm going to turn it over to trustees. I see Trustee Williams is in the, forgive me, thank you so much for that reminder. Trustee Guzman, we have a couple of, before we go on to questions, we have some public comment. We'll start with individuals who have registered in advance, and that is Autumn Tampa. You have 4.01, chronic absenteeism. And then we have Ms. Binder. Thank you. Welcome.
Autumn Tampa, speaking as an individual. Just so you know, I was sick for 2 weeks, and then I was sick a couple months ago for 2 weeks, so I'm still being careful. You know, I was really surprised to see this on the agenda. I know, did you hit the time button? I said, okay, I could use the extra time. I never get any. So anyways, prior to COVID, there was a problem with absenteeism. And I know that I did speak about that a few times. I know I lived in an apartment complex with a family. The father worked nights in a band, and the mother worked days as a maid. So she had to leave the house at 7 o'clock, and I usually left around the same time. And if the husband didn't come home from his night work, then the junior high students stayed home to take care of the toddler. So, I mean, there wasn't really any other answer. Survival was what was important. And I keep mentioning, because during the recession, a lot of services were cut for aid for families in need, for childcare and that sort of thing. I know that even after COVID, I've had students say, well, I had to stay home to take care of my brother or sister. My mother was sick, and I had to take care of her. So there's all of that. I know when I worked at another junior high school as long-term sub, there was a girl that had a crush on a boy who was cutting, and so she kept cutting because of him. So there's lots of different reasons why people cut. I think the numbers are skewed because of COVID. I couldn't believe that we were even calculating numbers, because I don't want sick children coming to school. They get me sick. And now I've got children afraid to go to the nurse because they don't want to get in trouble for going home. So I don't know what the district is going to do, because to me it's a nationwide problem. Well, go to school, go to work. If you're sick, it's okay, tough it out. I think that's the wrong answer, because you get everybody else sick and you hurt your body. So I don't know. There should be a focus of getting kids who are not sick into school, but not making kids who are sick come to school so numbers are up. And that's the serious problem that I see and have seen for the whole time I've been in the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tampa. At this time, I'd like to invite Ms. Binder to come up to speak on 4.01. Looks like we also have Ms. Comroe on 4.01 and Ms. Camilla Bywaters. Welcome back.
Thank you. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Jara. So I've been talking about this for like a year. I cannot wait to see the actual data on why kids are missing school. Over the course of next week, there will be several truancy graduations happening across your campuses. And these are kids that we've had the pleasure of mentoring, getting to come to school, getting them to believe in themselves, to raise them above passing. And for a lot of these students, the new grading system worked out really well for them. What's very concerning in the presentation is that 46.7% of those chronically absent were our IEP kids. So now we have a whole bunch of money going out the door to a whole bunch of kids who aren't getting services, and almost half of them aren't even coming to school. Where's the money?
All right, let's go. Thank you, Ms. Binder. Ms. Comroe, Sarah Comroe. And then Ms. Bywaters, Camilla Bywaters. Welcome back.
Thank you. Sarah Comroe for the record. The young scholar that spoke earlier, I believe named Jacob, on the Tardy policy impacting chronic absenteeism made a really good point. We should be getting them to want to be on time. Earlier, up here, they spoke about positive reinforcement and connecting them to at least 1 or 2 teachers. Great ideas if we had the staff to create that school culture. In case you haven't noticed, we're a little low. So I just pay my students to be on time, 2 Comro Cash dollars, and that's worked really good. But I'm curious what the focus is going to be next year regarding chronic absenteeism when we're short an extra, I believe it's 1,400 teachers is where we're sitting right now. I also wanted to add to this and say that your SSD department, your Special Education Services Department, when they come in and they assess a child with special education services for a change of placement or for additional support, so higher levels of support, somebody who has never met that child or somebody who has only seen that child for 1 hour gets to make a decision about that child's placement instead of the IEP team, which is the federal requirement. And that is because the school is scared of retaliation. And the excuse that they often give is we cannot support a change of placement or more supportive services, higher services, because that child has chronic absenteeism. Well, when that child had COVID twice last semester, now they have chronic absenteeism. And I think that the teacher that's with them 7 hours a day, multiple days a week, even if it's not all 5, right? Even if they're chronically absent, they still know better. So that's a huge problem we have with the chronic absenteeism situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Comro. I'd like to invite Ms. Camilla Bywaters to the podium. Welcome.
Okay, Camila Bywaters, president of the Las Vegas Alliance of Black School Educators. So after listening to that presentation, I noticed that the only minoritized population that was announced were for our Black students. And I believe I saw the numbers were kind of blurry and small, but I believe I saw about 48.1% for our Black African American students. The numbers are definitely high for our minoritized populations and including students with disabilities, which is really interesting because they're not in school. That sounds like some lawsuits right here. But there has to be an evaluation of how the programs that we currently have are operating and if they're truly doing the work that we're saying that they're doing. Absenteeism has not all of a sudden popped up in our district. It has been an issue and has only been exacerbated by the pandemic. We are asking that we really look into our partnerships, evaluate the effectiveness of those programs, and determine if they're really providing the services that we need for our students, because it seems that we really need some intense services. When I was teaching in CCSD and back in the day, I often had conversations with my Black students who often feel alienated and that they don't have a voice within their education. And oftentimes they struggle with their white teachers. They struggle with teachers who do not understand their culture, their backgrounds, and how who they are impacts their educational experiences. I would hope that we're incorporating culturally responsive pedagogies as well into our practices so that we can encourage our students to come to school so that they can value themselves by seeing themselves within the curriculum. And I forgot.
Thank you, Camilla Bywaters. I have Diana Batista, who is also signed up for 4.01.
Diana Batista for the record. So I'm a little bit surprised because this has caught my attention for months and months, and I don't even think you guys sometimes realize the significance sometimes of the statements that you make. And so months ago, we talked about the chronic truancy and the fact that in that data, I throw all of that data out. I don't trust any of it. And unfortunately, a lot of it is because we're sitting here, we're suspending kids, and we're addressing behavior issues or whatever it might be, and we are then punishing our kids for behaviors, but then we're also at the same time marking them as chronically truant. And I don't understand why that is. Additionally, many of our families, which is not typically discussed or thought about, which surprises me, is the fact that many of our kids who are chronically truant may have medical issues. We don't talk about supplemental services and what that looks like in an IEP and the additional supports and services that we can offer students who are chronically truant. My son is one of them that receives those services. I'm very thankful of it. But I can also tell you that since he's come back to school, he hasn't gotten 1 hour of it. Shocker. I don't know where the teachers are or where the staff are that are giving these services, but when we're sitting here and we're looking at these numbers, a lot of times there are extenuating circumstances that I don't think is always addressed before the board. Some of that is because they are immunocompromised or they may have additional medical issues. I know that like my oldest son, when my youngest son is out because he's sick, he's afraid that he's going to go and he's going to take COVID or something else at that point to his one-to-one aide who is maybe a little bit older. I'm like trying to think of the words here, but without being, I guess, offensive. But so he's, some of our kids they're just afraid. They're afraid that, because the younger one is sick. I had a teacher that informed me this morning that they're out sick right now because of COVID. They tested positive this morning. My first instinct is, when was the last time that you worked with my child? Because I have to worry about my youngest son who's immunocompromised. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Batista. We have Brenda Zamora, who's also signed up for 4.01. Welcome.
Hello, for the record, Brenda Zamora. I just quickly wanted to share, as I was listening to the presentation, my kid's story. So as we're hearing, awarding children who have perfect attendance, it sounds awesome and everything, but I think about my children who unfortunately, the first week when school started, my oldest just went, had surgery. She was out for 2 weeks. She was admitted in the hospital. And 2 weeks after that, we got in a major car accident. And we were out for about a month because I was septic and I was in the hospital and I just couldn't help my children get to school at that point. And I think about them and their situation of things that they just have no control about. This is stuff that it's not their fault. It's nobody's fault. It's just life happens, just like how everyday adults things happen. And then in December, of course, we get COVID. So we were out another month. So it's just, she's had 10 surgeries. She is immune compromised, and I think about even when she starts a fever, she starts anything, I do pull her out of school because I don't want it to get worse. I don't want, someone else to probably, who is starting something, just spreading, because we all know elementary school students, they just full of viruses, right? And that's something we all know. But I think about her possibly sitting in this attendance, certificate ceremony and how she just might feel some type of way, right? And I just want to let you all know that I know my story is not the only one. As I talk to people, they have similar stories. We just saw a comment about someone who they had COVID twice this year already, so it's just things that just happen. And we just have to think about that, as we think about perfect attendance. It's not you're creating this idea, and we have support staff who don't have paid sick days either, who can't take a sick day off because they can't afford that day with no pay. So it's just so much that goes into it, and I don't like this idea of you get a certificate for being perfect. That's not what reality is. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zamora. We have Ariane Pritchard. Ariana Pritchard. Welcome.
It's Ariane, like Marianne without the M.
Ariane
Pritchard, for the record.
Welcome.
I am a teacher in this district. I'm a 14-year veteran teacher, and this year has been the worst year for attendance that I have ever experienced. And then the bomb was dropped on my high school students that next year that they would start at 7 a.m., 45 minutes earlier than their start time, and it's already a difficult time for them to get to school. I was having students with transportation issues earlier this year. Those seem to have been mitigated slightly, but when I was covering for another teacher's class, because, I don't get a prep, what the upperclassmen were saying is, well, since school's starting 45 minutes earlier and classes are 45 minutes long, I'm just going to miss my whole first period. So I want to say that unilateral operational decision to start nearly every high school at 7 a.m. is going to negatively impact attendance and increase truancy, especially in many of our high schools. And that's all.
Thank you so much. At this time, we have no more public comment for 4.01, and I'd like to turn it over to my colleagues who have questions. I see Trustee Williams is in the queue. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Thank you, Dr. Anzalone and Dr. Barton. I have just a couple questions. Again, I'd like to state that, and you guys can, we are not the ones that make up the definition of chronic absenteeism. That's the state. So I would suggest to parents and teachers and community members to go lobby with the legislators and change the definition, because I understand that life happens, and in 2020 and 2021, a lot of students had to leave school because they took on jobs, because they became homeless, which for whatever reason, their absenteeism rate went up. And so that's one of my questions is, do you guys plan on working with the legislators for the next legislative session to help change that definition so these numbers actually become a little bit more accurate? Oh.
Dr. Jara? Go ahead, Dr. Jara.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I'll have Mr. Manzi come in as this is part of how we assess and hold schools accountable from the State Department. I know there's some conversations, but Mr. Manzi will be the appropriate staff.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, Greg Manzi, Assistant Superintendent for the record. We are following the federal guidance that defines chronic absenteeism. So that is what we're adhering to in terms of the business rules and the calculations here. Absent is absent and goes towards the calculation and the 50% or more for a day.
Sure. I 100% understand that. I guess my question was, I would hope that the school district or community members or anybody, that they see this and they understand that, yeah, life happens to some of these students beyond their control. And I agree that we should incentivize students to come to school regardless of what's going on, but sometimes they just can't. So that was one of my questions. And then my second question was for the online students. Do you have a rate, a truancy rate or an absenteeism rate that is counting that or not? You said that was one of your challenges.
Go ahead, Dr. Martin. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara. So the distance learning, in fact, and Mr. Manzi can correct me if I'm wrong, they are counted as present if they're, say, quarantined and they're provided with a distance learning option. They are, in fact, provided with a present code. As far as differentiating that from the overall chronic absenteeism number, that's difficult because the overall attendance coding is the same for all attendance factors.
Sure. Okay. All right. That's all I have questions for. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Williams. I see Trustee Guzman is in the queue. Go ahead, Trustee Guzman.
Thank you. I have just a couple of questions. I'm really happy that Comro Dollars as an incentive does work, and that was in our presentation, so I'm excited about that. But I want to talk about the bus issues. Were the bus issues taken into account for absenteeism, or is it, as you just mentioned to Trustee Williams, that it's just an absence is an absence?
Go ahead, Dr. Martin.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara. Trustee Guzman, to your question, I know that this year has been a challenge with some service providing with the bus shortage and the driver shortage. What we've done as a district is definitely, we encouraged our principals working with their teams that if there was a bus that was arriving late, there would be leniency as far as tardies. So we definitely worked with our principals on that. We know that they use sound judgment, and if a bus comes in obviously late, it's not the child's fault. So that being part of the calculation, we worked with our principals to ensure as much as it could that there was leniency for those factors that were beyond their control.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question that I had has to do with students that work. During the pandemic, they had to start working, right? What accommodations have we made for those students so that they're not absent?
Go ahead, Dr. Martin.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Dr. Jara. Trustee Guzman, I think it's a great question. I don't know if I have a precise answer
Sorry.
because it's a complicated issue, right? So
Yeah.
I think that students that are required to work at a time that's unprecedented, how do we accommodate for that with a federal requirement with chronic absenteeism?
Right.
To be determined. That's why we're doing these focus groups. We
Great.
keep talking to our students. Dr. Anzalone has done really good work taking a deep dive with these students to learn about their issues and what's preventing them from coming to school. And I think that was a factor that was brought up several times with Dr. Anzalone. We're going to continue to do that work and talk to the students in this focus group setting to learn from them what can we do to be more accommodating within the federal requirements. And so we definitely want to keep talking to them and learning. And the other thing is I think that, the superintendent always makes us aware of national research and how this is impacting the whole country. So 3 big factors to consider with a strategy: relational network, that's why we're doing the focus groups, the family engagement piece, and then also consistently taking a deep dive into the trends that we're seeing. So the reality is this: the trends that we've been providing to you as a board in the last few months, it's a different trend pre-pandemic. So it's going to be important that we continuously do this, reflect on the data that we're getting from the focus groups, and try to tackle that kind of very tough dynamic.
Thank you. Sorry to send you a curveball. I didn't mean to.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. I see that Trustee Ford is in the queue. Go ahead, Trustee Ford.
Thank you so much. Okay, so can you just clarify for me really quick, because I've heard some students speak about how being, if we're late to one class, that 10 minutes later or whatever, that's an absence, but then I just heard that it's 50% of the day or more. Can you just clarify that exactly?
Go ahead, Dr. Mancy.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, Trustee Ford. So the attendance codes are applied per course. So the situation that was explained earlier, that attendance code was applied to that class that may have been missed. The overall calculation for chronic absenteeism is 50% or more of the day in totality.
So if a student was absent, or say tardy, to a class every single day, let's say that was a parent's schedule. Actually, I've kind of been in this situation when you have multiple kids and all their starting times are like around the same time. Let's say that they were late to the first period every day, 15 minutes every day. What would it be like? Every 3 tardies is an absent? Would it be every day they're there? They have no absences, or what would that be?
Dr. Mancy.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, Trustee Ford, for the purpose of the calculation, it looks at each day in isolation. So 15 minutes would be applied to that student's schedule as a absent time versus the present time that would be our 6-hour and 11-minute day. So that's not a day of being fully absent or 50% or more for that student.
So it wouldn't accumulate, like you wouldn't compound the 15 minutes to hit like half of a day, and then that would be the absence.
Dr. Mancy.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, Trustee Ford, for the purpose of this calculation, that's not how it factors in for the 15 minutes. It's kept just to that day.
Okay, thank you. I have some questions I'll bring up with you later, because I actually have 2 teenagers in school, and I have experienced what this student was saying with my own children, so I think there might be maybe some misunderstanding. I've had to write notes to excuse absences for a tardy that was 15 minutes after drop-off time. So, but you're saying for the actually looking at chronic absenteeism, that those ones would then be not included as far as the presentation, but it would be counted for the student?
Dr. Mancy, I believe that you've answered the question several times, but I just want to, maybe there's another way to describe that. Thank you. Go ahead.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, Trustee Ford. So the situation with the tardies, that's a code that was applied to the course and the time that's missed for the course. So we have certain minutes that are attributed to a class. They might be a 90-minute period. They might be a 45-minute period. Depending on the time the student's able to spend present in the course, an attendance code is applied if they were absent fully for the period or if they were tardy for the period. We look at the total minutes for the day to do the purpose of the calculation here. 3 tardies, there may be a policy at the school site that does lead to other pieces, but that would be a tardy accumulation, not for the purpose of the chronic absenteeism calculation.
Okay, I'm hearing the response, and I'm understanding the response. It just seems like it's not lining up with my personal experience. So, thank you. I appreciate it. So this was a big issue pre-COVID. We were discussing this at length with the Clark County Commission. I can specifically remember putting my back in it, and I can see teachers lining up with solutions to this. The commissioners saying, hey, bring all ideas to the table. A lot of teachers saying things like, hey, give me some extra money and I'll get these kids to school in the morning. I'll hunt them down and they're not going to tell me no. So I really would like to almost like get back to that place. Almost like this was already an issue. Where are we compared to then? But that's going to be really difficult without being able to subtract the chronic absenteeism that is due to COVID, whether sick, quarantined, or directly because of the effects of COVID, like taking on a second job and whatnot. So I guess I'm just interested to see how can we get those numbers as close as possible to what it might look like if COVID wasn't a thing. Have we considered maybe surveying parents and families just to say, or maybe surveying those that are chronically absent and saying how many of these days were COVID related to get to some closer answer?
Dr. I'm making eye contact with me. I believe that's you. Dr. Barton, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Dr. Jara. Trustee Ford, I think it's a complicated question. Again, I'm not trying to not give a direct answer here, but I think to gather that kind of information and make a conclusion on what the COVID impact would be difficult. Recall that pre-COVID, we were making progress. We still had high chronic absenteeism across the board and even in particular student groups, but there was progress. To get to the point of multiple agencies and that, you mentioned the county, we're continuing to double down on those partnerships. We, again, in the timeline Dr. Anzalone went over, by June, we expect a report from our TPOP partnership with the county and what that impact may have been at the macro and micro level, because there's definitely some interventions that they do at particular schools and trying to make an impact. But we definitely have a lot of work to do, but concluding the impact from COVID, I think we struggle along with the other districts we're talking to consistently, our comparative districts. We're just struggling to conclude how dramatic that impact was. And so our team will continue to, again, take a deep dive into that data as we develop trends and see trends and bring it to the board. But that's the best that we can do right now, Trustee Ford.
Thank you. It's a tough task. Things I've read says that we're not going to have that data until COVID is over, probably 2 years after COVID is completely over and we're still in it. Last thing, it was mentioned briefly by Dr. Anzalone that one of the things that keeps kids showing up to school is the connecting to one or more adults on campus. I think that should be looked at deeper. I think that's something that kind of got glazed over, but might be a fundamental reason why kids do or don't show up. I recently spoke to the media and said that it's my belief that before we focus on recruiting new teachers and staff, that we should put major efforts and resources into retaining our current employees who have already developed relationships with students and who have invaluable insights into the unique needs in their schools and the communities that they serve. So I really feel like that might be a missing piece in some of the things that I've read nationally. Mention that sometimes, or not sometimes, a lot of times, the only reason why a kid shows up to school is because they know there's an adult there who cares. So I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Ford. I see Trustee Cavazos is in the queue. Go ahead.
Thank you, Trustee Garcia Morales. Some of my questions have already been asked by my colleagues, but I think what we're talking about here, and thank you for all your work on this and for bringing us these updates. They're very helpful along with the briefings that we get on this. I can't remember, I don't think I asked this during this particular briefing, but some of the comments from our constituents tonight it seems like, we're talking about life happens. You guys are looking at, really a global outlook here. The bottom line here, cutting to the chase, is that we need our kids to be in school. And so you're looking at not only the symptoms of the absenteeism, but it looks like you're taking a deeper dive into looking at the root causes. So my question here would be, in looking at the comparisons that you brought us, and thank you for that, to the other districts, was there any one thing that you saw or that was different? And some, like for instance, Washoe, a little bit higher. Some of the other ones, I think you said, Dr. Barton, was it Denver and I can't remember the other one. I'm sorry. Miami-Dade. Okay, that were very similar with our numbers. Was there anything that you could put your finger on? Because I'm hearing a lot of things from the public commenters tonight that, a lot of it had to do with social emotional learning, some of the things that were happening in their lives, medical issues. I'm just wondering if there was any one particular challenge or something that you saw that was different.
Dr. Anselo?
Thank you, Vice President Morales. Members of the board, Dr. Jara, Trustee Cavazos, great question. You're 100% accurate. The emerging themes continue to show us that students, especially in some of the larger urban districts like Denver and Miami-Dade, the students were being looked to for more of that support within the family, as opposed to smaller districts or even, less affluent districts. And so I think that's something that was a common denominator that we found, that these students are being needed by the family and their supports outside of the school much more than others.
Thank you, Dr. Anselo. So kind of continuing with that, just kind of piggybacking on that, I like that you're not just looking at, just like truancy officers as being the be-all and the end-all. It's just a moving piece in all the parts of this. So when we are looking at those differences with other districts, and again, I'm gonna steal Trustee Guzman's here phrase as far as not wanting to throw you a curveball here and a question that maybe I didn't think of during the briefing, but would it be probably to our benefit to find out if possibly did some of these other districts that are doing better with the absenteeism rate, did they start on social emotional learning maybe a little bit sooner than we did? And I know that our MTSS system and looking at the different tiers are absolutely important, and we have to kind of take it in stages. I know there are many conversations with Dr. Barton, but would that be something that possibly in the future that we could look at?
Dr. Barton?
Thank you, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Dr. Jara, Trustee Cavazos. I think it's a fair question that we've learned from our partnering districts that there's definitely a difference in per pupil expenditure. Mm-hmm. There's a difference in definitely when stages of SEL was implemented or even a mental health ecosystem to support students. While we had efforts in the Clark County School District or even in the state of Nevada before the pandemic, I think that created a magnifying glass to create a sense of urgency where we're partnering with multiple agencies, Care Solace, telehealth through Hazel Health, to expand it on all campuses. But I definitely think, to your point, there's a difference on when those supports were provided pre-pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that you have answered my question, but I appreciate that we are not just, again, I appreciate your work, all of you, and your briefings, and that you are giving us details on not just doing the Band-Aids or the symptoms, but looking at some of the root causes that are underneath. So I thank you for that. Okay.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. Associate Dr. Jara.
Yeah, Madam Vice President, members of the board, I think Dr. Barton is being modest. When you think about the work that started under Dr. Barton's leadership around mental health and the MTLL teams in every school, the Council of Great City Schools has really highlighted that and shared that across the country as the leading effort. So there's a lot of things that we continue to learn from. I mean, yesterday I learned from some of the work that San Antonio is doing up in New York City. So there's a constant learning curve that we're doing with other districts. So just commend Dr. Barton and his leadership and the team because it's something that has been highlighted and shared with others around some of this work. Not where we need to be, and a lot of work ahead. I also like to point out, I mean, community, we've done an RFP for community partners using ESSER dollars that's out there. and that's something that will continue. So if there's other community partners that want to participate in helping our kids get to school, there's that possibility for the coming year. I know Chicago Public Schools, that they're doing a lot of work with the churches to really do those knocking on doors. So that's going to be continue to be out there and available for community partners. So it's not just the ones that we currently have, but there's others.
Thank you, Dr. Jara. I see Trustee Brooks has questions.
Thank you. I didn't really have questions. I do appreciate the information. I want to be honest about where we are as a district and a community. I don't expect us to reach these goals. I think it'd be unreasonable given the fact that we're at the tail end, hopefully with the tail end of a pandemic. Attendance obviously has not been a priority this year. People have struggled entering quarantine and going back to schools. So I want to be realistic that I know that we are not going to meet these goals, and I am going to be okay with that because I recognize that we have prioritized health, and I mean that's been universally accepted. So I think we have a lot of work to do, but I also know that this isn't really reflective of a normal circumstance. So I think it's important to add that nuance when we look at this information and whether or not this is something that we have absolutely focused on and prioritized. And in my opinion, we haven't. And I am okay with that given the circumstances.
Thank you, Trustee Brooks. Trustee Cavazos, I'm going to take the liberty to share my comments, and then I see you in the queue. Thank you. My comments are simply, thank you for shining a light on this multifaceted issue that exists in our school district. Thank you for continuing to listen to students and, at the same time, abiding by the federal definitions of chronic absenteeism that we're, have to uphold. Thank you for working with our incredible partners, the county, the city, organizations who support this work. Really, my comment is more also, in addition to share my gratitude to you and the team, Dr. Barton, is would like to encourage my colleagues to, I hear that there is continued concern, but perhaps we would benefit from evaluating in the near future our legislative priorities and find ways to address the concerns that the staff have shared here. This could be a place where we could all collaborate. Trustee Cavazos?
Actually, Vice President Garcia Morales, I think that my question is probably going to be better suited to 402, having to do with safety and kind of making a connection with the absenteeism and school safety. So I think I'm going to hold off until that. Thank you, though.
Very good. Thank you so much. At this time, if there are no other questions or comments, we're going to move on to 4.02. 4.02. Thank you, gentlemen. So we're transitioning a little bit and bringing some team members up. Dr. Mancy, are you solo? You running solo? All right, man of the hour. 4.02, moving on to 4.02, which is strategic plan update on student safety. Dr. Mancy?
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara. For the record, Greg Manzi, Assistant Superintendent of Assessment, Accountability, Research, and School Improvement Division. Before you tonight is a presentation aligned to the district strategic plan, Focus 2024, providing an update on the indicator of student safety. The indicator of student safety contributes to the vision of the Board of School Trustees through the student success priority area, specifically under safety and engagement. The student safety results were previously presented in March of 2015, October of 2016, and May of 2019. The May of 2019 presentation included results of the district-wide survey overall that was presented during a board work session. What you'll see here, so the measure of student safety included in Focus 2024 is derived from 4 questions within the district-wide survey for students as shown on the slide. It's important to note that the first item, responding negatively, is actually the desired outcome. Therefore, responses for this question are reversed to calculate the measure of student safety. The district-wide survey for students is administered on an annual basis, typically in the months of November and December. The most recent administration took place from November 1st, 2021 until December 17th of 2021. The district-wide survey for students is available in English and Spanish. This is important as the timing of the survey administration and subsequent reports aligns to the school performance framework cycle, as well as data review event at the beginning of the second semester in January and February. The current iteration of the survey is in its 6th consecutive year and was developed during the 2015-2016 school year in partnership with WestEd. The questions are from a combination of prior CCSD iterations of the survey, the University of Chicago Consortium on School Research, and the Nevada Department of Education. The full district-wide survey captures student perceptions in a variety of areas, including parent involvement, learning attitudes, social learning, and perceptions of school performance. A purpose of the district-wide survey is to elicit feedback on the climate, culture, and school community, informing our theory of action that if we focus on strengthening school communities by implementing multi-tiered system of supports, or MTSS, the student's perception of safety will increase. The trustees may recall that during December 9th, 2021 regular board meeting, the board approved Policy 6121, Multi-Tiered System of Supports. Policy 6120 requires that all schools, in collaboration with stakeholders, implement the district-wide framework for multi-tiered system of supports to ensure all students receive equitable access to opportunities to promote each student's academic achievement, social emotional growth, and behavioral development. The district-wide survey for students is administered for students in grades 4 through grade 12. The district results for the perception of safety are shown on this first slide. A consistent trend that will be observed across all charts shown today includes the increase in perception of safety for the 2020-2021 results, completed when the district was implementing distance learning. The 2021-2022 results reveal a return to rates closely aligned to the percentages from prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, with slight increases observed across all student groups when compared to the 2019-2020 results. On the next slide, you'll find results from the elementary schools. For elementary schools, the results include students in grade 4 and grade 5. The grades at elementary are purposely selected to allow for the highest degree of independence in completion of the survey, therefore more reliable results. In the elementary school results, we observed that the increase during distance learning was not as drastic, but surpassed 90% positive during that time for the district and several student groups. The results of the 2021-2022 school year reveal percentage positive responses slightly higher across the majority of student groups when compared to the 2019-2020 results. On the third data slide, you'll see the results from middle schools. For middle schools, the results include students in grades 6 through grade 8. In the middle school results, we observe a greater increase during the 2020-2021 school year while in distance learning, nearly approaching 90% positive for middle school overall. All student groups also saw increases in that same time frame. Once again, the results of the 2021-2022 school year reveal percentage positive responses slightly higher across most student groups when compared to the 2019-2020 results. On the final data slide, you will find the results for high schools. For high schools, the results include students in grades 9 through grade 12. In the high school results, we observe a greater increase during the 2020-2021 school year while in distance learning across all student groups. And we see a return in school sites. We can observe that the results of the 2021-2022 school year are slightly increased across all student groups when compared to the 2019-2020 results. The district strategic plan outlines the target percentage of students who feel safe as measured by the district-wide survey questions previously outlined. The table on this slide provides us with the 2021-2022 target and actual results, including an indicator that the targets were not met. Limited context is available to compare the district performance to others. It is important to note that comparison rates were generated based on similar questions, but no district asked identical questions to ours. The results from Los Angeles Unified District were derived from one question: I feel safe in this school or in online school sessions. When reviewing the annual trend for Los Angeles Unified District, we do observe that their results were likely influenced similarly to ours during the 2020-2021 school year while in distance learning. The results for Washoe County School District, Denver Public Schools, and Miami-Dade County Public Schools are derived from a singular question, all similar to, I feel safe at my school. Results from Albuquerque Public Schools and Houston Independent School District were not available for comparison. We acknowledge the challenges, successes, and lessons learned as we reflect on the results. We recognize that we encountered a challenge as students returned to face-to-face learning, reacclimating to student school structures and systems following a year of distance learning. Within the results, we also observed success with an increase in survey participation when compared to the 2020-2021 results. We also observed that the results aligned to the pre-COVID-19 results across all grade bands with modest improvement when compared to the 19-20 school year. As part of a continuous improvement process and reflection of the results, we developed lessons learned and a plan for adjustments. A lesson learned includes recognizing that perceptions of safety increased while in distance learning. Our next steps are separated into two slides. The first slide is focused on our next steps aligned specifically to the district-wide survey. The results of the district-wide survey will be utilized by continuous improvement teams as they conduct the event called Status Check 8 as part of the school performance plan process from May 2022 to June 2022. In the fall, school continuous improvement teams will have an opportunity to revise the school performance plan to incorporate action steps that address the observations from the district-wide survey results. The district-wide survey will open then in November of 2022 and remain open through December 2022 up until winter break. The results of the survey administered for the 22-23 school year will include an analysis of additional indicators such as panorama results and student attendance. The second focus of next steps includes actions to increase student safety. Most recently, we communicated the emphasis of the Clark County School District pre-K through grade 12 student code of conduct, including a parent link communication and video message provided by the superintendent. During the summer, region leadership will provide district-wide multi-tiered system of supports professional learning for school site leaders that includes high-quality Tier 1 academic and behavioral instruction and supports. By August 2022, resources for school sites will be provided, including Tier 1 safety protocols, re-engagement procedures, and student communication materials. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Mancy. We now are taking questions from, excuse me, thank you. I want to jump straight into questions, but I'm grateful for Trustee Guzman, who reminds me of our public comment. This time we have several members of the audience who would like to speak on public comment, starting with Adam Tampa, Anna Binder, Sarah Comroe, and I'll announce a couple of others in a minute. Welcome back.
Autumn Tampa, speaking as an individual. First, I want to note that I did the survey, and I did not think it was detailed enough or specific enough or allowed for enough comment for people to give more information. It was very, very general, and I don't, So when you think of safety, I think of physical safety. Is somebody going to beat me up? Is somebody going to shoot me when I go to the parking lot? Is a student going to hurt me if I'm on a high school campus? I've actually even been hurt by elementary students when working. So there's physical. Then there's mental. Are the people that I'm interacting with playing any kind of abuse games verbally? Are they, undermining my individuality? Are they giving negative comments to me on a daily basis? I know I once observed a second grade teacher calling her children stupid on a regular daily basis. To me, that was mental unsafeness. Then you have emotional unsafeness where, your emotions are not validated, where if you have a reaction that you're not supposed to have, then it's, your shame on you, and that's shaming, and that's emotional unsafety. And I think all of those factors are critically important, and they're not being looked at. I've been on many, many campuses, over 160, and I felt safe physically on most of them. I did not feel mentally or emotionally safe on way too many of them. And I know that students and the whole culture of discipline, the whole culture of fold your arms and march like a soldier, and you better not move or you better not turn the wrong way. Don't look backwards. It's absurd. They're children. They are supposed to be moving. They're supposed to be excited. They're supposed to have feelings. So that whole perspective needs to be fixed from top down. It's wrong and it's hurting people.
Thank you, Ms. Tampa. Is Ms. Binder still present? Oh, she'll. In the meantime, Ms. Comro, would you like to come up? I think I hear her, but oh, there she is. Forgive me. We'll go ahead, Ms. Binder. 4.02. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Jara. So this presentation, sorry, I'll pull your page. Waste my time, I don't care. Sorry, I could have been more prepared on that one. 4.02. There we go. So focusing on student safety, we're still getting a lot of reports from parents in the community whose kids are being adversely punished for reporting bullying and harassment and physical contact that's being made to them on our campuses. I'm sure you guys hear a lot of that from your community, hopefully in your respective districts. What was really, really fascinating to me, because I saw that you guys referenced going back to some surveys before COVID, and when we were in shutdown and I was yelling about student suicide and things like that and getting our schools back open, I took a look at a survey that students complete once a year. And I thought it was really interesting because I didn't really know about this till I found it. And then I asked my kids, I'm like, you guys really take this every year? And they're like, yeah. And in that survey, these kids are also reporting they don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. These students are like over 40, 50, 60% at risk of contracting STDs, being sexually assaulted, becoming pregnant. When we want to talk about safety and we don't have, them feeling safe, and this kind of says that like, oh, we're kind of getting back to like pre-COVID. That's a nightmare to even think about. So, Dr. Jara, you mentioned, for people who want to help and all of this stuff, I still have my NVLA PTA president who hasn't been approved for.
Thank you, Ms. Binder. Let's, Ms. Comro, are you available? And then we have Ed Gonzalez and Camilla Bywaters. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Sarah Comro for the record, and I think my last one for the night. I was looking at the data, and it's very possible that I missed it because I was trying to go through all the papers in that giant stack. But is this survey given in students' native language for our bilingual and multilingual students? And for our special education students and our some of our low-level learners, is it read to them? And I'm curious to know what the wording in the questions is, because a lot of the surveys that I have received as a teacher ask me a question, and then I start to answer it, and I'm like, wait, is it that or is it that? I'm not really sure. It feels like I'm taking the ACT, and it's a trick question, and I'm like, am I gonna get into the college I want? And these are supposed to be like very simple, straightforward questions, but they become complicated. And so it makes me question the accuracy of the data. It also depends, is the student in secondary ed taking this survey when they are in a class with a teacher they really like? Because in that moment, they feel safe. But maybe when they go to their next period, kind of sketchy, not so much. And so I question the validity of the data if we don't know all of this back stuff. And maybe you guys know, but I just feel like that's stuff that you might want to think about when you're looking at data. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Conroe. Ed Gonzalez, and then Camilla Bywaters. Thank you, Ed. Welcome. Come back.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I actually did leave, so it is appropriate to say welcome back. My name is Ed Gonzalez. I will actually put on a hat, not just a physical one. Community member of Hickey Elementary School organizational team. The reason I'm commenting on this item is that there was a review that was sent to the school organizational teams about the code of conduct. It was very vague. It just asked to be reviewed. Our SOT did actually take a vote and to ask I believe this would be under operationals for the superintendent. One of the things they're concerned, I'll just read the motion. It's very basic. The motion was to send to the district that the Hickey Elementary School organization believe that any attack on a staff member, if successful or not, should be held to the same standard, and principals and administrative teams should have more say on student discipline. Now, I understand state law does not necessarily allow for that. It is ironic that the legislature, when I spoke earlier in public comment, gave more authority and autonomy to principals, and at the same time, when it came to discipline, they did the complete opposite and made it go back into central. I understand the hypocrisy of the legislature at times. But the main thing that are concerned, and I will give you an example. Let's say I'm a student and I throw a chair at a teacher. The difference in punishment on the code of conduct is whether that chair hits the teacher and injures them. So if the teacher is swift enough to move out of the way, it's a different level of punishment. Now, I understand that it should be treated slightly different, but it should be held at the same standard because the intent was there. I'll give you a sports analogy. If you attack an official, it's the integrity of the game, and you usually are banned for life. I'm not suggesting that under this policy, but I'm suggesting it should be held in the same area level, and within it, there should be some, varying levels depending where it is. That is what the Hickey Elementary School organizational team believes, because we are concerned that staff members are being attacked. Staff members are getting hit, and what's the appropriate punishment? My chair has come here before and saying that all behavior is learned. And if they feel like they can throw a chair and get away with it, what's the next student going to do? Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Ms. Bywaters?
Camila Bywaters, president of the Las Vegas Alliance of Black School Educators. I definitely agree with the sentiments that were made about the validity and the reliability of the survey. I think it would be also important to maybe tweak this a little bit and see, look at the results, but also to include an opportunity for students to state why they feel unsafe and what specifically makes them feel unsafe in schools. That will really be the only way that we can target solutions when we understand the specific reasons. One of the big issues that also impacts student safety is the lack of appropriate and effective response. When issues are brought to school leaders, there has to be an immediate response to these issues. For example, I just sent each of you a letter about Desert Oasis High School. 2 parents had complaints about some issues there, went to the school, and they did not feel that their issues were addressed. And in fact, their 2 daughters were expelled, and the individuals who were causing these situations were not treated the same way. So it really is important that student safety issues from families are addressed in a timely fashion so that students don't take these matters into their own hands, and also parents. So parents don't take these matters into their own hands. The parent actually said to me, I wish I would have not gone to the school and handled the situation myself. But he thought that coming to the school, he'd be able to get some solutions, and nothing happened. And I could see that this is a problem that's happening throughout our district, that issues are not being handled consistently and in a timely fashion.
Thank you, Ms. Bywaters. At this time, I don't see any more public comments. However, now we can move on to trustee questions. Trustee Williams, I see you in the queue. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Dr. Manzi, I guess I only have like a question and a comment, but when you get these survey results, do you go over this or review them with the CCSD PD?
Go ahead, Dr. Manzi.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, Trustee Williams, the results specifically are not reviewed with CCSD PD. We don't hold a session or anything with them for that availability.
Can I ask why?
Dr. Jara? Dr. Jara? Forgive me.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, we do not, but we do review them in cabinet. and Chief Black Guy sits in my cabinet. So when we review that, we, as a team, review so we can get to address some of the issues and kind of get into the next steps. And Chief Black Guy sits in my cabinet meeting.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jar. And then I guess my only comment is on your slide, slide 5. I understand this is the part of the MTSS system that I think Dr. Larson Mitchell had briefed to us. I want to say it was last summer, maybe. I'm not quite sure. But on the very end of that, it says increased perception of safety. And while I understand there's a perception of safety and an actuality of safety, I get worried or worrisome about the concept of, like, are we working on actually making the school safe as opposed to letting other people perceive that they're safe. And so that's just my only comment to it. I think sometimes that word gets thrown around and people are like, oh, it must be safe because it's perceived to be safe. And then with every student having a cell phone and every single time something goes off, it ends up on Twitter or Instagram, whatever, it decreases the perception. So that would be my only comment, but thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Trustee Williams. I see Trustee Guzman is in the queue. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Mr. Manzi, there are a couple of things that I have questions about. First, do you define safety for the students in the survey?
Dr. Manzi?
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, Trustee Guzman, there is no definition provided. It's about the student's perception of that word and that information as they answer the question.
So we're not telling them what safety looks like. They're just answering based on what they know as safety. Yeah.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, yes.
Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure. And then you did mention, Dr. Manzi, when you were showing us the slides that the survey was in English and in Spanish. Is that correct?
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, Trustee Guzman, yes, that's correct. The Spanish and English are the languages for the survey.
Great. And is the survey read to our special ed kids?
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, so when students have those reasonable accommodations that are written in and they need that support, that would be provided for them by their teacher.
Okay, so if it's included in their IEP, then they would have it read to them.
Correct.
Okay, great. And then my last question has to be is about the time of year that we choose to do this particular survey. Is there a reason why we choose November to December to do this type of survey?
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, Trustee Guzman. So the time of year is really critical for the survey. It gives us, the students, some time in their building to get their perceptions and understanding, as well as align to the school performance process and being able to generate the results and use it within the school year to implement change for the second semester.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. I see Trustee Cavazos is in the queue, and I will turn your mic on.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice President Garcia Morales. I just have one question, Dr. Manzi, and this is kind of, this is one I asked at the briefing, but of course the public doesn't see our briefings, and also too, one of our constituents brought it up tonight too. And this has to do with, when they answer the questions, you gave us the exact questions, I believe, that how it's worded, so that's the literal language that is used, correct? So I had asked during the briefing, but there isn't any place where, that they can put an additional comment, I do not feel safe. What is the reason you don't feel safe? This is a survey format, correct? Is there anything that we're looking at, and again, at appropriate grade level, like the elementary, middle, and high school, is there anything that we're looking at where possibly that could be incorporated into that, even if it was just very brief?
Dr. Manzi?
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, Trustee Cavazos. So we have other tools that provide those, that avenue for a student, Safe Voice being one of them, where they can type in that information, provide that comment, which alerts appropriate staff to be able to take action at the school site then.
Thank you, Dr. Manzi. So we have those other, which I'm well aware of, and which I'm very happy that we do have. But what I'm saying is that there isn't any connection between that survey and the results of that survey. It's not really, like, there's not like a follow-up or a connection to then these other entities.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, Trustee Cavazos, the survey serves a purpose of being able to capture climate and community and perception. That is the intent of the survey, not to do those additional connections to then provide intervention to a specific student.
Okay, so then the other entities would be used for the specific interventions, and this is just more kind of a global look at how they're feeling. There isn't, basically they're checking it off, and there isn't a place for them putting in comments. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. Trustee Ford?
Thank you. Can you explain a little bit the questions? And for instance, I'm sorry, I think I lost my thingy. Okay. So we ask 4 questions. I'm just kind of repeating what was said. 4 questions on the survey, one of them being reversed. The 4 are, I sometimes stay home because I don't feel safe at school. Students feel safe in this school. This school has safety procedures that work, and this school is safe. So that's what we've been doing, and we've been doing it for, 5 or 6 years, something like that. 6 years. And we're comparing our responses of our survey to all the other districts in that chart, which is great. But how different are their questions than our questions?
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, Trustee Ford, for the other districts that are there, we found that most of their questions were a singular question. I feel safe at school being a common one that was what we used to report the comparison information. Ours is the 4 questions that we've outlined to kind of encapsulate the student safety climate overall.
Okay, so here's my comments, which you've already heard on my briefing. For the record, that of all these 4 questions, none of them actually ask if that individual student feels safe at school. In fact, they could be interpreted like students feel safe in school. Maybe I'm a student at the school and I don't feel safe for whatever personal reason, and I'm thinking no one else feels this way. Like, obviously, I'm the only one that feels unsafe in this way. And I look around, and all the other students appear to feel safe. I might check the box of, yeah, students do feel safe in this school. As far as the school has safety procedures that work, like it was asked earlier, could it be interpreted like maybe that student's not considering things like that they actually fear, whatever that is, but maybe they're looking around and going, oh, it looks like there's a operable check-in system and nobody can really get through the front door without, strangers can't get in, but they're not considering other safety procedures. So I guess I'm just trying to say that I feel like if we're going to compare to other districts, that we have to be comparing the content of that metric and in the similar way. If we change it, it would skew some of our data, and it would, we'd be off a little bit in the 6 years, but it might be worth looking at it. Can you clarify one more time? Let's say I'm a student. I take this 4-question survey. How many of these do I have to mark positive for it to be considered a positive result?
Dr. Manzi?
Madam Vice President, members of the board, Superintendent Jara, Trustee Ford, it's an aggregate measure. So if the student only answers 3 of the 4 questions, we would use the results from the 3 questions to come up with the total % positive that's presented before you here today. So we do look at each individual question, but come up with an aggregate number, and that's what you're seeing in the report.
Okay, so if I was a student and I, say that I don't stay home because of my safety fears, and I say that most of the students feel safe, and I say, the check-in system's working and whatnot, even those 3 things, it would be a pretty high result for me, but nobody asked me if I actually personally feel safe. that's just one of the things I think we should consider. Because I brought it up at my briefing, but I do have questions about the validity of the data. And while I would like to see improvement in climate and culture, and so I almost want to see results that reflect what we're hearing and what we're seeing from students so that we could really know if the changes that we're implementing right now, and we're implementing a lot of really positive changes, are actually making a dent in how our students feel regarding their safety at school. So I think it's a question worth looking at, and I'm okay for now. Thank you.
Trustee Brooks, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
Thank you, Vice President Garcia Morales. I have just been listening to the comments. There is a really good tool that other board members can go check out some comparison data around the state. It's at datatool.nevadaschoolclimate.org. It actually will let you look up this by school. It'll let you look up and compare it by the state and other districts. So I would encourage us to start looking at data like that. I think the purpose of this information being collected in this manner is so that we can compare it. And if we start talking about and critiquing the questions, and instead of focusing on what it means, what we're going to do about it, and how we're going to use it to actually inform our decisions, I think sometimes we get a little bit sidetracked. So I would encourage everybody to look this information up, because I think it's really important to have that mindset. I appreciate the information. I know that this year has been rough, and I don't have any questions. I know that we have a lot of work to do in regards to this, especially given the climate and culture shift in general. And I am committed to doing it with staff. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brooks. I hear the comments of my colleagues that this continues to be an item that they want to continue to learn more about, and grateful that this has come before the board today. Thank you, Dr. Mancy, for your time. I'm going to go ahead and move on to item 5.01, Trustee and Superintendent Business. 2021-2022 NRS Statutes 388A.233, 5-year charter school site evaluation report and presentation. This is a presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding the 21-22 NRS Statutes 388A.223, 5-year charter school site evaluation report to submit to the Director of the Legislative Council Bureau for transmittal to the Legislative Committee on Education as required by Assembly Bill 462 of the 80th session of the Nevada Legislature. At this time, hello, hi, Dr. Jara. I think we're grateful to have you here before us. Sir, please go ahead.
Madam President, esteemed board members, Superintendent Jara, Deputy Superintendent Larson Mitchell. For the record, Dan Tafoya, Office of School Choice. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present this evening. I will now refer you to the slides on the screen. During the 80th legislative session, the legislature revised Statute 388-223, which requires the sponsor of a charter school to conduct site evaluations for each campus of a charter school it sponsors during the first, third, and fifth years after entering or renewing a charter contract. All of our 6 sponsored charter schools are currently in their 5th year of a 6-year contract. The CCSD Office of School Choice has conducted site evaluations on an annual basis for over the past 10 years, which includes a thorough examination of the academic, financial, and operational components as per the agreed upon charter contract. The statute requires 3 components to be examined. First, evaluation of pupil achievement and student performance at each campus. Our office evaluates schools by using metrics and measures which are based upon the board-approved Charter School Sponsorship Guide, the Nevada Performance Framework, Nevada Revised Statute and Regulations, and other documents. Second, Identify any deficiencies relating to pupil achievement and school performance. Identification of deficiencies regarding the areas of academic, financial, and operational performance are discovered through annual site evaluations and audits. Site evaluations are conducted with respect to school autonomy and the agreed upon charter contract. Third, plans to correct such deficiencies. Additionally, charter schools have various support teams. Charter schools have various support teams in collaboration with CCSD in an effort to correct any areas of deficiencies that are discovered, with the common goal of improving student achievement and overall student performance. I will now briefly update the board on each school. First, the 100 Academy. The 100 Academy School of Engineering and Technology was found to have deficiencies in the academic, financial, and organizational components per the agreed upon CCSD Charter School Performance Framework during the 2017, 2018, 2018-2019, 2019-2020, and the 2021 school years. As for academic performance, due to the school's academic performance during the 2017-2018 school year, the Board of School Trustees voted in 2019 to reconstitute the governing body of the 100 Academy per NRS 388A-330. The reconstitution stipulated that the school would improve its academic performance during the remainder of the charter contract. In 2018-2019, the school did improve its elementary performance from 1-star to a 2-star rating on the Nevada School Performance Framework. The middle school program remained a 2-star school, but had improved in the area of growth on the NSPF in both mathematics and English language arts. This effort improved the NSPF score by 5.8 points. In accordance with the U.S. Department of Education, Elementary and Secondary Education Act, the ESEA waiver, NDE suspended the accountability requirements for the 2019-2020 and the 2020-2021 school years in response to the COVID pandemic. The NSPF school ratings and accountability indicators were carried over from the 2018-2019 reporting year. Therefore, the school has not had the opportunity to provide academic performance results. Regarding the 2021 and 2022 school year, NDE has not released the final NSPF measurements. When NDE reinstates NSPF accountability measurements, the school will evaluate the academic performance of the school. And this goes for all the schools we're going to discuss tonight. They were all exempt from the NSPF during those time periods I discussed. The financial performance at 100 Academy. The 100 Academy was found to have deficiencies in the financial performance each year of the current charter contract. The school was issued a notice of concern or a notice of breach per the Charter School Sponsorship Guide and Charter Contract. Each of the deficiencies have been addressed by the charter school. Organizational. 100 Academy was found to have deficiencies in the organizational performance each year of the charter contract. The school was issued a notice of concern or a notice of breach per the Charter School Sponsorship Guide and Charter Contract. Each of the deficiencies have been addressed by the charter schools. Thank you. Slide 4. The Delta Academy. The Delta Academy was found to have deficiencies in the academic, financial, and organizational components per the agreed upon contract and Charter School Performance Framework during the 2017-2018, 2018-2019, 2019 and 2020, and the 2020-21 school years. Academic performance. Due to the school's academic performance during the 2017-2018 school year, the Board of School Trustees voted in 2019 to reconstitute the Delta Academy's governing body per NRS 388A-330. The reconstitution stipulated the school would improve its academic performance during the remainder of the charter contract. In 2018-2019, the school did improve its middle school performance from a 1-star to a 2-star rating on the NSPF. In 2020, the high school applied for and was granted placement on the Nevada Department of Education's Alternative Performance Framework. Again, NDE carried the previous NSPF scores over due to the COVID-19 pandemic. When NDE reinstates the NSPF and APF accountability measures, the school will be evaluated for their academic performance based on those measures. Financial performance. The Delta Academy was found to have deficiencies in their financial performance in the 2019-2020 and the 2021 school years. The school was issued a notice of concern and a notice of breach per the Charter School Sponsorship Guide and the Charter Contract. The Delta Academy governing body has submitted a corrective action plan and continues to address financial deficiencies. Organizational performance. The Delta Academy was found to have deficiencies in the organizational performance for the 2019, 2020, and the 2020-21 school years. The school was issued a notice of concern and a notice of breach per the Charter School Sponsorship Guide and the Charter Contract. The Delta Academy governing body has submitted a corrective action plan and continues to address these deficiencies. Next slide is Explore Knowledge Academy. The Explore Knowledge Academy was found to have deficiencies in the academic component per the agreed upon CCSD Charter School Performance Framework during the 2017 and 2018 school year. Due to the school's academic performance in the middle school during the 2017 and 2018 school year, the Explorer Knowledge Academy was issued a notice of concern per the Charter School Sponsorship Guide and the Charter Contract. In the 2018-2019 school year, the school did improve its academic performance in the middle school from a 2-star to a 3-star rating on the NSPF. Again, their scores were carried over due to the COVID pandemic. Financial performance. For all years of the Charter Contract, there were no financial deficiencies to report. Organizational. For all years of the current Charter Contract, Explore Knowledge had no organizational deficiencies to report. Innovations International, Charter School of Nevada. Innovations International Charter School was found to have deficiencies in the academic, financial, and organizational components per the agreed upon CCSD Charter School Performance Framework during the 2017-2018, 2018-2019, 2019 and 2020, and the 2020-21 school years. Academic performance. Due to the school's academic performance in 2017-2018 school year, the Innovations International Charter School in Nevada was issued a notice of concern per the Charter School Sponsorship Guide and Charter Contract. In the 2018-2019 school year, the school did improve its academic performance from a 2-star to a 3-star on the NSPF at all grade levels, K through 12, or I should say testable grade levels. Financial performance. Innovations International Charter School of Nevada was found to have deficiencies in their financial performance each year of the current charter contract. The school was issued a notice of concern or a notice of breach per the Charter School Sponsorship Guide and the Charter School Contract. Each of the deficiencies have been addressed by the charter school. Organizational performance. Innovations International Charter School was found to have deficiencies in their organizational performance for the 2019-2020, 2020-2021 school years. The school was issued a notice of concern and a notice of breach per the Charter School Sponsorship Guide and the Charter School Contract. Each of the deficiencies has been sufficiently addressed by the charter school. Odyssey Charter School. Odyssey Charter School was found to have deficiencies in the academic component per the agreed upon CCSD Charter School Performance Framework during the 2017-2018 school year. Due to the school's academic performance in the elementary and high school during the 2017-2018 school year, Odyssey Charter School was issued a notice of concern per the Charter School Sponsorship Guide and the Charter Contract. In the 2018-2019 school year, the school did improve its academic performance from a 2-star to a 4-star rating in the elementary school and from a 2-star to a 3-star rating in the high school on the Nevada NSPF. Again, their scores were carried over due to the COVID pandemic. Financial performance. For all years of the charter contract, there were no financial deficiencies to report. Organizational performance. For all years of the charter contract, there were no organizational deficiencies to report as well. The Rainbow Dreams Early Learning Academy was found to have deficiencies in the academic, financial, and organizational components per the agreed upon CCSD Charter School Performance Framework during the 2017-2018, 2018-2019, 2019-2020, and the 2020-21 school years. Due to the school's academic performance during the 2017-2018 school year, the Board of Trustees in 2019 placed the school on a mandated remediation plan. The plan stipulated that they would improve their academic performance during the remainder of the charter contract. In 2020, Rainbow Dreams Early Learning Academy requested to eliminate services to grades 1 through 8 and to change the mission of the Rainbow Dreams Early Learning Academy Charter School to only serve pre-kindergarten and kindergarten students on their campus. On June 11, 2020, the CCSD Board of Trustees approved the request for the school to serve pre-K and kindergarten only. The school will use and has used industry standard evaluation tools such as Brigance and My Standards Golds to measure students' growth and achievement since they are no longer being rated on the NSPF. As for financial performance, for the 2017-2018 through the 2019-2020 school year, all financial performance deficiencies have been addressed. As for the 2021 school year, Rainbow Dreams Early Learning Academy was issued a notice of breach by CCSD. The notice of breach identified a financial deficiency, which was based upon the school owing an outstanding debt to the Nevada Department of Education. At the time that this report was published, Rainbow Dreams Early Learning Academy had not sufficiently addressed the performance deficiency. I am pleased to report to this board this evening that the school has paid its debt in full to the Nevada Department of Education and has sufficiently addressed the financial deficiency to the satisfaction of the sponsor. All financial performance deficiencies as of now have been addressed. Organizational performance. Rainbow Dreams Early Learning Academy was found to have deficiencies in their organizational performance for the 2019-2020 and the 2020-21 school year. The school was issued a notice of concern per the Charter School Sponsorship Guide and the Charter Contract. Each of the deficiencies have been addressed sufficiently by the school. Same board, superintendents. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tafoya, for your presentation. At this time, I'd like to take public comment. We do not 5.01. We have Miss Camilla Bywaters, 5.01, and that's it. Miss Binder. I didn't mean to wink at you that way. Just know we've got you. We've got you, Miss Binder. Welcome back.
Hey, Camila Bywaters, president of the Las Vegas Alliance of Black School Educators. So I think Principal Henry deserves a hand clap here for that increase of standards. That's not easy to do after 4 years of having to bring a school to a new standard. One thing I would like to address, though, Rainbow Dreams is a Black-owned school. And I could not, after I learned about the kind of pressing and bill collecting that was going on, it seemed that there was not really any grace in the matter and in collecting and turning in the fees to whoever these fees need to be turned into. So I'm glad to know that it was stated today that the school is debt-free and has paid back what they have owed. But it is kind of concerning to me that there was such a pressing and close to stressful for a school in 89106 to be given such a pressure to pay their bill, which there was never a problem with paying the bill. So I think it's really important that we do what we can to support our schools, that support our minoritized communities, especially early learning schools. There's not too many opportunities for our Black and brown babies to attend schools that provide such a great service. So I do think that it's very commendable that Ms. Henry has been able to get a staff that is phenomenal at Rainbow Dreams. My daughter attends Rainbow Dreams. She knows her ABC, she knows how to write her name, and she knows how to come to the school board meeting and cut up a little bit. So I do just want to make sure that there's a recognition of the work that she has done to have a good report here.
Thank you, Ms. Bywaters. Ms. Binder?
Thank you. So I actually was going to hit that because at the state level, there's many conversations going on in the early learning category and trying to increase services to our communities because early education is one of the most amazing things that we can give our children. So, but Ms. Bywaters was here tonight, so she kind of hit the rest on the head, but there's great strides at the state level being made for the investments into more support in our community for early education. And I believe they're getting ready to do a roundtable, I think in the next quarter, to bring people in the community in for better ideas in zip codes that are typically left out of those conversations. So, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Bender. Dr. Jara?
Yeah, Madam Vice President, members of the board, I just need to correct a record because this staff has intimately worked with Congressman Horsford, with the State Department to address the needs, and the county. Commissioner Kirkpatrick worked with us to provide the support for Rainbow Dreams and really working closely as we went through the payment plan. So I just needed to correct the record in our grace in supporting the community Congressman Horford has been in close contact with Dr. Barton and myself to make sure that children are served in this community. Thank you.
Thank you for your support, Dr. Jara. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to my colleagues because we're ready for questions, and I don't see anybody in the queue right now. Perhaps Trustee Brooks? Trustee Brooks doesn't have any questions. I would like to put myself in the queue.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brooks. My question, Mr. Tafoya, could you provide us insight on how we came into overseeing charter schools?
Esteemed trustees, superintendent, and staff, thank you for that question. In the 1999 legislature, there was a bill passed that allowed people such as, or entities such as school districts and the state to sponsor charter schools. So it was a law that was enacted, and as a matter of fact, we have one of the oldest charter schools that was part of that law. That's Odyssey Charter School. It's been around now 22 years. So it was enacted through that law, and the school district at that time started open charter schools. The state did as well.
And at this time, we have a state charter authority that oversees specific charter schools. I mean, there always has been some authority, right, at the state level. I just want to verify and confirm that that's the case. Is that right?
Trustees, superintendent, and staff, for the record, Dan Tafoya. That is correct. At one time, it was the Nevada Department of Education. Through a legislative act, there was the formation of the Charter School Authority, which does oversee other charter school portfolios throughout the state. The Washoe County School District also sees a portfolio of schools such as Clark County, and Carson City, I believe, sees one of those schools as well.
Thank you, Mr. Tafoya. Dr. Jara?
Yes, Madam Vice President, members of the board, there's also a provision within the charter law, if at any time, and Mr. Tafoya can speak to that, where the school board can then transfer back charter schools into current charter schools that we authorize and supervise, and transfer them to the state charter authority as well. So there is a provision within the statute to do that, for that to happen as well.
Dr. Jara, does that happen, Mr. Tafoya, does that happen at any time, or is that can that happen at any time, or does it have to happen at a specific time of the year?
No, I mean, I think it's a conversation that we would have to have with the state charter authority. Obviously, the main and priority is to make sure that when that happens, it's aligned to a school year, and to make sure that the children are served. So I think it's if it's something that there's an interest, that we can start having conversations with the state charter authority to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Jara. The reason I ask about the history and the insight is because as I'm grateful for the progress that's taken place in some of the charter schools that we really that have been presented here today, and hearing some of the challenges and hardships that some real challenges and hardships that some of our students face, and oftentimes in the neediest community. I wonder whether we are the right unit to be supporting our charter schools. I mean, it's a really hard conversation to have because, we have been supporting them, and it sounds like we're on a 5-year agreement. 5-year agreement? Is that what I heard? 6-year agreement on 5-year of a 6-year. But I would like to have that discussion at some point, and this presentation is a glaring reminder that we should have it. Dr. Jara?
Madam Vice President, members of the board, we can start having the internal conversations with staff to start looking at it and to see what the potential, obviously for us and for the state charter authority and for you as well, is making sure that we take care of our children and what that looks like. So we can then look at it and see what the timelines, and then we can bring something back to this board.
Thank you, Dr. Jara. I'm going to go back. I appreciate those answers. I see that Trustee Ford has a question or like to be in the queue. Go ahead, Trustee Ford.
Thank you so much. Couple questions. First, there's all different types of charter schools, including online schools that would run much differently than traditional brick and mortar schools. Are all of the charter schools that we are sponsoring, are they all traditional style student in the seat type of schools, or are there any type of alternate versions of education?
For the record, esteemed board, superintendent, and staff, Dan Tafoy for the record, we do have Odyssey Charter School, which is a hybrid school where children attend online part of the week and they're in person part-time. We also have Delta Academy, which is a school that is, as I mentioned earlier, is under the APF. They do have students that attend online and full-time, and some students who attend in between as well. Our other schools are traditional schools that are brick and mortar, face-to-face type schools.
Thank you. So the purpose of this was really to compare, using the same standards, how successful a charter school would be as a public school. I guess I'm just trying to, knowing that two of them look different than most of our schools, I guess, except for, oh my God, I can't think of it, Learning Academy. How similar are these schools to CCSD? Like, are we seeing, is it comparable classroom sizes? Is it, are we seeing the same rates of absenteeism? Do we have any of that information?
For the record, esteemed board, superintendent, and staff, Dan Tafoy for the record. So the charter schools are mandated under many of the same NDE regulations as regular school districts would be. So a lot of the class sizes are comparable. Absenteeism rates are pretty much as you would see in the district. Some schools you see they have a comparative absenteeism rate. Other schools you see that maybe it is a higher absenteeism rate than the school it's surrounded by. And in some cases, you see the absenteeism rate lower than the local public school that the student may attend.
Thank you. So I guess I'm trying to figure out, so for public CCSD schools, we have, it doesn't matter how many kids there are versus how many teachers or space there is. We're going to take all students and all behavior levels and all needs of different students. So I guess knowing that some of our schools might be short on staff and several classes combined into larger areas like the cafeteria and the gym and things, and dealing with some things that arise from there like violence and whatnot, is that something that they do as well? Or is there some sort of cap on class sizes or attendance? Or is it just, I guess, how different is that than our schools?
Trustee Ford, for the record, Dan Tafoya. There are a lot of similarities. After the pandemic, a lot of our schools have faced exactly the same issues that we've faced as well. I can't point to specifics as to exact comparison or data studies, but I think that there's been a shortage of employees. There's been a shortage of the ability for parents to send their kids to school. I think they've faced many of the same issues that we face as well. There are caps, such as there are mandated by NDE for the state, for the Clark County School District. There are the similar caps for them, and so what we have to do is monitor that to see where they are. It is very comparable to what you are describing. I think all schools, not only in Nevada, but nationwide, are affected by many of the same problems.
Thank you. Is transportation provided to these schools?
Trustee Board, Superintendent staff, for the record, schools do have the ability to provide transportation. None of the sponsored charter schools in our portfolio do. I'm not aware of any in the state at this point that do. That's a very expensive endeavor. They can partner with the school district to be able to do that type of partnership where there could be some transportation, but of course it would come at a cost. And charter schools with their budget typically they don't have the ability to provide transportation. The other thing is that they pull from multiple zip codes, so it would be a big undertaking for them to be able to have charter schools provide transportation.
Thank you. Would it be fair to say that to attend one of these charter schools, the parents would pretty much have to be able to handle transportation to and from school? Trustee
Ford, Board, Superintendent and staff, for the record, Dan Tafoya, It would be a very fair statement that parents do have to provide that transportation for their students, and they have done so since I've been here.
Thank you. I want all schools to succeed. I obviously, if kids are happy at their schools, we hope that they can meet the standards. I just want to, of course, always look at the data in a way that if we're comparing against each other, that it is fair and accurate. I would just hate to compare on unfair metrics and then make the claim that charters are more effective than CCSD schools and then, lose funding to more charters. While at the same time, I do want to support, different options of schools and innovation and, responses to the community's desired schools and whatnot. But my last question is, well, first, I think it's great that the ones that we've been overseeing have made the successes that they have, and I really like the change of Rainbow Dreams. I think it's awesome, but now that we're in the 5th of the 6th year, what happens next if, for say, a couple of them are not meeting the standards in the future? What would the next step be?
Trustee Ford, esteemed board, superintendent and staff, for the record, Dan Tafoya. So as we start to approach the end of the contract, we would look at the data that we have. We have the data that you see in front of us, and where you see that it may say falls below the standard or doesn't meet the standard is because at the time of audit, the school may have had a deficiency. They may have had a write-up. They may have been missing something in a special education folder. These are very stringent type audits. So it only takes one thing for you to not meet a standard in audit. You can come back and correct that and bring it back into alignment, but we're not going to change the rating. It was the way it was when we found it, and we do that for transparency's sake. So it would be very easy to say, well, I fixed it, let's turn it into green, and then all I would show you is green. But the truth of the matter, through the process of audit and transparency, when we inspect those schools, what we find is what we report. We do give them the opportunity per the NRS to make those corrections, and if they make those corrections, then they are allowed to continue to operate. If a school was not to make one of those corrections, then we would come back to this board. We would issue the proper legal documents to the school. If they still refuse, we would bring them back to the board for the board to consider either a sanction or a revocation of that charter. So in the fact that you may see that there's red and that there's yellow, it means at that time that did not meet the standard. But we bring them back to the board if they chose not to make that standard for some reason, say they went bankrupt, then we'd be in front of you with a bankruptcy issue.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you so much.
Trustee Williams?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Mr. Tafoya, thank you for your comprehensive report. I tried to take a lot of that in, right as you were saying it, but you speak very fast. So I just want to say thank you. And then my only question is, with Rainbow Dreams last year being their first year doing pre-K and kindergarten only, right? So then that report will be 5 more years? Or is that where you guys are just basing your data off of, just the 1 year or 2 year, every year you guys are just relooking at that?
Trustee Williams, esteemed board, superintendent and staff, for the record, Dan Tafoya. So annually, we have different departments that monitor the progress that they make in those areas, and we make those comparison data. This is their first year, so we don't have any comparison data yet.
Sure.
But we will bring that back to the board the next time that we do have that data, so they can see where the students have moved from point A to point B and see if that is sufficient. In those lower grade levels, pre-K and K, there are measurements out there that I think that statistically could be significant as far as monitoring and providing a description of how the school is performing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I am very big fan of charter schools and secondary education schools for students in our district, so I think that's great. I don't know if I need to make a motion, but I'd like to make a motion just to accept the report and move on to our next item, but thank you so much, Mr. Tafoya.
Thank you for that motion. Trustee Williams, do we have a second? See trustee Guzman in the queue.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion by trustee Williams and a second by trustee Guzman. Trustees, please cast your vote. Trustee Brooks.
Aye.
That motion passes 6-1, noting trustee Cepeda is absent. 6-0. Why do I keep saying 1? She's here in spirit. Miss you, President Cepeda. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tafoya, for your time. I think we are ready to move on to 5.02, opening of sealed bids, call for oral bids, and resolution of acceptance of bids offered to sell real property site number 064.02-2. That is 2.5 acres of the southeast corner of Rancho Destino Road and East Frias Avenue. Discussion and possible action on the opening of sealed bids, calling for oral bids, accepting the highest bid, and adopting a resolution declaring the highest bid to sell a 2.5 acre parcel located on the southeast corner of Rancho Destino Road and East. I just repeated that same thing. Assessor's parcel 177-28-401-006, and for the superintendent of Clark County School Districts and the president and the clerk of the board of trustees, Clark County School District, to sign the resolution of acceptance bid is recommended. I see the contact person is Mr. Campbell, and forgive me, trustees, did we seek public comment first before the last time we did this? Public comment first before we open the sealed bids? I don't think so. No? Okay. Isn't there a, no? No. No. Okay, nope, just kidding. I want to be proactive. Thank you. Trustee Guzman, I appreciate you're ready with the envelope. All right, ready. Okay, I need to read these instructions. Trustee Guzman, would you mind opening the envelope, please? Thank you. We're going to open the bid and read out loud each bid amount and the name of the submitter. Go ahead, Trustee Guzman. I'm going to turn on your mic so we can maybe tag team this. Are you willing to do that?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Okay.
It says the undersigned St. Charbel Maronite Catholic Mission Las Vegas Real Estate Trust, having carefully examined the resolution of intent to sell real estate property and notice inviting bids adopted by the Board of School Trustees of the Clark County School District on April 7th, 2022, hereby submits a bid in the total amount of $530,000 for the southeast corner of Rancho Destino Road and East Frias Avenue, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89183, assessor parcel number 177-28-401-006 for a total of 2.5 acres. The northwest quarter of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of Section 28 Township 22 South, Range 61 East, MD, B, and M, being further described as Government Lot 104.
Excellent work, Trustee Guzman. Thank you for that. At this time, are there any oral bids? Can I say that? Going once, going twice? Yeah, we get the gavel. Are we good to, yes, I think we, the oral, okay, so there is no oral process. So we have one bid, and it appears that we will accept that bid. So at this point, I'm closing the auction. And at this point, I'd like to request, can you please say the amount again, Trustee Guzman?
Sure, it's $530,000.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion.
I have it.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman.
I motion for item 5.02, opening of sealed bids called for oral bids and resolution of acceptance of bid offer to sell real property sit number 064.02-2.5 acres at the southwest corner of Rancho Destino Road and East Frias Avenue.
Thank you very much for that motion. I see Trustee Williams in the queue.
I will second that motion.
Can you identify the price and the bidder? in
That's
that?
the second motion. I had to motion for us to actually open the bid.
Okay. That'll.
Okay.
Thank you, council. Okay, at this time, we have a motion by Trustee Guzman and a motion by Trustee Williams. Excuse me, a second by Trustee Williams. This time, trustees, please cast your vote. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0. Thank you so much, trustees. Okay. At this point,
Now I can do the motion to accept the highest bid.
thank you, Trustee Guzman. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I motion to accept the highest bid in the amount of $530,000 made by St. Charbel Maronite Catholic Mission, Las Vegas Real Estate Trust for the purchase of the 2.50-acre parcel located at the southeast corner of Rancho Destino and East Frias Avenue.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. I see Trustee Williams is in the queue.
I will second.
Thank you, Trustee Williams. A motion by Trustee Guzman, a second by Trustee Williams. Trustees, please cast your vote. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes 6-0. Noting Trustee Cepeda is missing, is not present today. I am missing her. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. Congratulations. No fancy math footwork. Congratulations to the winning bidder. Trustee Guzman, please share congratulatory notes.
Yes. Congratulations to St. Charbel Maronite Catholic Mission, Las Vegas Real Estate Trust. Good luck.
Excellent. Thank you so much. At this
I know,
point in
right?
time, we'd love to move on to 5.03, public hearing and possible approval of the new memorandum of agreement between the Clark County School District and the Clark County Association of School Administrators and Professional Technical Employees regarding Article 16-9. This is the time and place to conduct a public hearing on a discussion of and possible action on approval of the new memorandum of agreement between the Clark County School District and the Clark County Association of School Administrators and Professional Technical Employees. Those who wish to address the board in person at the meeting may sign up to speak by calling the board office. This is all details that are moot point. So this is the time and place to conduct a public hearing on discussion of and possible action of approval of the new memorandum of agreement between CCSD and the Clark County Association of School Administrators and Professional Technical Employees regarding Article 16.9.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, members of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Jara. My name is David Hall, Chief Negotiator and Assistant General Counsel. Nevada Revised Statute 288.153 requires that any new, extended, or modified collective bargaining agreement between a local government employer and an employee organization be approved by the governing body of the local government. Excuse me. The local government employer and an employee organization be approved by the governing body of the local government employer at a public hearing, and that the chief executive officer of the local government shall report to the local government the fiscal impact of the agreement. The Board of Trustees of the Clark County School District, or CCSD, approved a negotiated agreement with the Clark County Association of School Administrators and Professional Technical Employees, hereafter to be referred to as CASAPI, on October 28, 2021. An agreement has been reached pending approval by the Board of Trustees and the Superintendent of Schools regarding the new memorandum of agreement between CCSD and CASAPI regarding Article 16-9 regarding the executive manager in the superintendent's office. CASAPI and CCSD drafted a new memorandum of agreement to modify the contract language in Article 16-9 to the current effective day of July 1st, 2019 to December 1st, 2021. The terms of this new agreement will be effective the date of approval and signature. Any additional costs associated with entering into this memorandum of agreement are de minimis. This is the time and place to conduct a public hearing on, discussion of, and possible action on approval of the new memorandum of agreement between Clark County School District and the Clark County Association of School Administrators and Professional Technical Employees regarding Article 16-9.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. We don't see any public comment on item 5.03. So at this time, the public hearing is now closed. I'm looking for a motion to close the public hearing. Trustee Williams?
I motion to close this public hearing.
Thank you, Trustee Williams. Trustee Brooks, would you like to make a motion? I see Trustee Guzman. You saved by Trustee Guzman.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. We have a motion by Trustee Williams, a second by Trustee Guzman. Trustees, please cast your votes. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Thank you, trustees. That motion passes 6-0. Close the public hearing, noting Trustee Cepeda is absent. At this point in time, we're going to move on to 5.04, the public hearing and possible action of approval of the new memorandum of agreement between the Clark County School District and the Clark County Association of School Administrators and Professional Technical Employees regarding the 11-month school principals. This is the time and place to conduct a public hearing on discussion of and possible action of the approval of the new memorandum between Clark County School District and the Clark County Association School Administrators and Professional Technical Employees regarding 11-month school principals. Mr. Hall?
Thank you. Madam Vice President, members of the board, Dr. Jara, my name is David Hall, for the record, Chief Negotiator and Assistant General Counsel. Nevada Revised Statute 288.153 requires that any new, extended, or modified collective bargaining agreement between a local government employer and an employee organization be approved by the governing body of the local government employer at a public hearing, and that the chief executive officer or the local government for the local government shall report to the local government the fiscal impact of the agreement. The Board of Trustees of the Clark County School District, hereinafter CCSD, approved a negotiated agreement with the Clark County Association of School Administrators and Professional Technical Employees, hereafter CASAPI, on October 28, 2021. An agreement has been reached pending approval by the Board of Trustees and the Superintendent of Schools regarding the new memorandum of agreement between CCSD and CASAPI regarding 11-month school principals. CASAPI and CCSD drafted a new memorandum of agreement to modify the contract language in Article 16-1 to change all current 11-month contracts for school principals to 12-month contracts with an effective date of July 1st, 2022. The terms of this new agreement will be effective the date of approval and signature. The fiscal impact of the memorandum of agreement is approximately $4.1 million. This is the time and place to conduct a public hearing on, discussion of, and possible action on approval of the new memorandum of agreement between the Clark County School District and the Clark County Association of School Administrators and Professional Technical Employees regarding 11-month school principals.
Trustees, before we take any action on this motion, can you guys go back and take a motion to accept the MOA on the previous one? All you guys did was close the public hearing. So that MOA is just sitting in limbo right now.
We don't want that.
No.
Thank you, Council. Excellent. Excuse me, Dr. Jara, I saw that you were in the queue. Is that the same? Yep. Okie dokie pokey. Here we go. Let's, Trustee Williams, I see that you are ready to make a motion.
I'll fix it. Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve 5.03, the agreement between the Clark County School District and the Clark County Association of School Administrators.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We have a Trustee Guzman.
I'll second again.
Thank you so much. We have a motion by Trustee Williams, a second by Trustee Guzman. Trustees, please cast your votes. And Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Thank you, trustees. That motion passes 6-0 to approve the MOA of item 5.03. Thank you very much. Okay, now we will return back to 5.04. Thank you, Mr. Hall. I believe we have to, Dr. Jara. Thank you. Let's see, where are we, Dr. Jara? Here we go.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, I just wanted to make a comment on the public hearing, if you will, on 5.04. I really like to, I know that the executive director for CASAPI is here, Mr. Horn, up and really coming to an agreement on this move forward as a district. Our principals in all our schools, the job has become a 12-month job. And with our staffing and the efforts to staff our schools, get ready, not close out all the summer work, this is a long time coming and the right move for our building leaders moving forward. So just really appreciate the collaboration and moving forward for our students in our schools and staff as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jara, for sharing those sentiments. I don't see any public comment on 5.04, so at this time we must close. No, we don't have to. Oh, okay. Well, let's just close it, call it a day, and move on to motion, the motion part, the motion commotion. Are there any questions from trustees? I see there's a couple trustees in the queue who are ready. Trustee, no. Okay, we're ready. Let's do it. Trustee Guzman?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept the memorandum of agreement to make our principals from 11-month to 12-month. Is that correct?
Excellent. I see Trustee Williams is ready to make a motion too.
Can I make a friendly amendment to approve? Approve, not accept. Is it accept? Because the thing says approval, and I don't want to get yelled at by our attorney again.
That sounds like it is
Okay, sounds
good
good.
to
I'll
go. Approve. Excellent. Trustees, we have a motion by Trustee Williams and a motion by Trustee Guzman and a second by Trustee Williams. Please cast your vote. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Thank you, Trustee Brooks. That motion passes 6-0, noting President Cepeda is not present today. Thank you, Mr. Hall, for your time. And thank you, trustees. I'd like to thank our administrators. Thank you who work diligently to support our students and families. Thank you for your service to our district. At this time, we will move on to 6.01, public comment on non-agenda items. We are going to refer to our sheet here, individuals who have registered beforehand. We have Jessica Allen. Is Jessica still here with us? All right, we are ready to move on to yellow cards, mellow yellow. Let's see, we have Sarah Esser. Sarah present? Does it look like Sarah? Jashanti Marshall? Anna Binder? Camilla Bywaters? Winner. Come on down. I'd like to remind the audience, if there are additional individuals who would like to come up for agenda items, please complete a yellow card and we will call you right up. Welcome back, Ms. Bywaters.
Oh, okay.
No, forgive me. Welcome back. Thank you for coming back.
I thought you said I'll come back. I was like, okay.
No. You are good to go.
Okay. Camila Bywaters, president of the Las Vegas Alliance of Black School Educators. Allow me to correct the record. I can name drop McCurdy, Horsford. I was referring to pressure by CCSD to pay large sums of money in a short amount of time. But I am going to move on to a second correction. We've been told by our leaders that our HR report in regards to Black African American leadership has increased by 30%, and that's actually not accurate. I researched and found the new HR report, and we moved from a whopping 140 Black African American administrative staff leaders to a whopping 148 over about a 5-year span. So it seems like we still have some work to do. I do want to say congratulations and thank you for the pathway to urban leadership. However, one concern that I would have is that that there's a specific target to increase our Black leadership in that space. I think just kind of leaving it open, there can be some missed opportunities to really work on that equity issue there. And another point that I would like to bring up about the pathway to leadership, the urban leadership plan, how does that incorporate individuals who have already gone through the endorsement process and are already prepared to be principals in schools? So it really just addresses new individuals who have not had a chance to get a master's in leadership. So I want to just ensure that appreciate the work, but that we really make sure that we're not leaving out people who've still been in a pipeline and have not had an opportunity to be promoted. Thank you.
Are there any other individuals who'd like to provide public comment? I do not have cards at this time. I'm looking for a motion from my colleagues, and I am out of time. Let's see. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Guzman. I appreciate your support during today's meeting. Trustee Williams?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Trustee Williams. Trustee Guzman?
I second.
Trustees, please cast your vote. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0, noting...
Oh, you guys need to announce when the next meeting was.
Wow. Before we accept that, ooh, thank you. I wasn't following my notes here, and I'm so grateful for the check. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Upcoming meetings, Board of Trustees is Monday, May 16th. That is a budget meeting. It's at 5:30 p.m. It's a special meeting, 5:30 p.m. The next meeting of the Board of Trustees is on May 19th, on Thursday, May 19th at 5 o'clock. All right. At this time, we will accept the motion that our trustee colleagues made, 6-0, noting Trustee Cepeda is dearly missed. I'm grateful. Thank you for your time, everybody. Wishing you a good evening.